Does that sound fine?
What's the boogeyman?
Welcome back to the Moonjuice Metal Horror Podcast where we live and breathe heavy metal and horror, but are not afraid to shit on both of them. I'm Matt.
I'm Mike.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna get
Mike's got to get readjusted. So Mike and I kind of want to talk about something real quick. We recently had something happen within our band, Texas Cornflake Massacre. If you've ever met us as a band, you know that if you're around us, you can kind of tell that we're probably less of a band and more of like a family, right? I mean, this is the way we act towards each other. Of course, we love making music and we love doing the heavy metal thing, but I think more than anything, we actually really enjoy each other's company and we care about each other a lot. That said, our drummer, Stefan Schreib, whose goofy ass picture I'm going to put up on the screen right now, has had a tragedy happen within his family. His younger son, 7-year-old named Denny, has come down with Hodgkin's lymphoma, right? If you know anything about Hodgkin's lymphoma, it is curable. So there's a very good chance that Denny is going to come through, but not without a lot of therapy and a lot of work that has to get done and an extremely long time that has to pass. That's really going to be hard for him to get through. It's a big deal for him. It's a big deal for his family. It's a big deal for us as a band. We care about Danny quite a bit. And so if there's anything that the metal community is good for, and if there's anything that we're good for as human beings, it's to take care of the people that we care about and to take care of friends and family. So what we've decided to do is kind of let the band take a little bit of a backseat for just a tiny time during his treatment. And we've started a GoFundMe for Stefan and Danny. All the money that's collected by this GoFundMe goes directly to Denny. It's for toys. It's for gas money to get to and from the hospital because it's quite a ride from where they live. It's to basically just make Denny as comfortable as he can possibly be during this really hard time because there's going to be a lot of chemotherapy. There's going to be surgeries. There's going to be all sorts of things. And it's not going to be a short time. It's going to be a financial strain on the family. And it's just generally going to be easier for Denny and for him and his family if we can give them some financial support to kind of help things work better during this time. So I would ask anybody who has a heart or anybody who wants to donate to the GoFundMe. I'm going to put a QR code on the screen and I'm going to put a web address on the screen, and it's also going to be underneath the podcast in our write-up. So you can go there and donate if you want to. Every little bit helps. We really hope that Denny has a full recovery, and we really hope that everything goes okay. So yeah, fuck cancer. Fuck cancer. Yeah. Thanks for any donations you guys can make. It'll help a lot. Okay. With that, we kind of mentioned what movie we were going to do this last time, but just in case you don't remember, we're going to tiptoe around the name as we usually do for about 5 minutes, trying not to say the name of the movie before we give it away. Would you say this is your favorite film or just one of your?
That's hard, but yes, definitely one of my favorite movies. It is a movie I cannot remember how many times I've seen it. And I watch this movie and its sequel at least once a year. So I know this movie in and out. Matt knows me as well. Getting into a discussion with me about this movie can go on for hours.
This usually does go on for hours. Anytime this movie is brought up, we're in this conversation for about an hour. We've had the conversation with the band over this movie a few times, and its sequel. And it goes on and on because anybody who's seen it and knows it, there's a million different things you can say about it because the story is so freaking intricate that it's confusing right? And
Yeah.
not necessarily in this movie. This movie kind of sets everything up, right? This movie
Yes.
is set up. Um,
Well,
and
it does get confusing in this one as well. But the entire thing about it is it has the chicken and egg paradox. That's what makes
yes,
it confusing. No,
yes,
this movie is the prime example of the chicken and egg paradox. No, um, that's what makes it confusing, and why you could argue about it for hours and hours, and you never really come to. I have discussions on this with my sister, my
yeah.
younger sister, for hours. We talked about this.
Fine. So here's my thing, right? This movie, it deals in time travel, right?
Yeah.
And what we see for modern day movies, and I think anybody who follows movies and likes movies in the way that we do doesn't necessarily have to be horror. It can be science fiction. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um, this is kind of used as something to erase bad writing or a bad movie that came before it, or when you just don't have any more ideas. That's when time travel generally comes into sci-fi now, right? And it's kind of used that way. It's kind of like a get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
movie hits you with it from the start, and that's because it is the primary grail in this movie. It's the MacGuffin. So it's the
That
thing that drives the force behind the movie. And it does it so well. I would say there is not another movie that deals in time travel that does it quite as well as this does.
Back
Period.
to the Future.
Okay. Back to the Future has some plot holes. This, I cannot find a plot hole. In future installments, I can, because future installments kind of ruin it. But I don't consider those canon anyway, just like you.
No, to me neither. To
Yeah.
me neither. The original and its sequel are canon, plus 3 books I've
Yeah.
read and a video game I'm definitely probably going to mention. That's for me the canon. Because there are plot holes in the sequel as well. A major plot hole I could bring up. But
You're gonna have to bring that up because I don't know about it.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Okay. So I
Okay.
think we did a pretty good job of sidestepping this one, Mike.
Yeah.
So tell everybody what movie we're doing.
The Terminator.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
This is Arnold Schwarzenegger's not his first movie by any means. I think his first one was Conan, wasn't it?
No, Hercules in New York.
Hercules in New York. Dude, I haven't even seen that fucking movie.
Me neither, but that was before Conan.
Okay. Okay. And we're not
Guess
counting
guess
Pump You Up, right?
guess what role he plays.
Hercules? Amazing. Yeah.
You don't say.
Okay. So have you seen excerpts from that movie at all?
What?
Have you seen snips and pieces of that movie?
Yes,
Is his
yes.
accent absolutely atrocious?
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's like everybody knows Arnold Schwarzenegger with his Austrian accent. It's even funnier when he speaks German.
Oh yeah. I've
When
watched
he,
whole documentaries of him speaking in
I
German
mean,
just because I want.
what's
But
crazy is when he speaks German now, fucking hilarious. He has a typical Austrian accent with a mix of American accent.
yes,
When he
yeah,
speaks German, it's fucking hilarious, dude. When he
it's
speaks
funny to his
English,
own people. He sounds funny now because he's so used to speaking English that now
yeah,
his
but
Austrian German is all fucked up.
yeah, that's what's funny. But when he speaks English, he still has a strong Austrian accent. I think it's funny.
You have to wonder though. When he started out, right? So I remember back to like Conan the Barbarian, right?
Yeah.
His accent there was probably the worst that it has ever been. And that's because he really didn't have a very good grasp of the English language at all at that time.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
admitted it. He's like, my English at that time was almost non existent. So whatever lines they gave him, that's what he said. This movie is not too different because I hear him talk in this film and I'm like, ooh, someone's feeding him those lines to repeat right after they say them because he is really struggling. Through the tiny bit of lines he has in this movie, he struggles through them and it sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, well, but he does. He brings it up super across. I mean, it's just like he does not have much lines, but
Yeah.
it's brilliant for his character
Yeah.
because they sound totally robotic.
Yeah.
You know what is perfect for the character, man.
Yeah.
He's playing.
No, you're right.
You know? Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was just like there were discussions we had. or interviews or whatever I saw of James Cameron and Arnold Schwarzenegger. What a lot of people do not know that originally Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to play Kyle Reese. He was
Yeah,
originally
I
not
read
going
that.
to play he was not going to play the Terminator, but he was one of the first characters that was casted, and apparently he at least knew James Cameron privately. And he was talking to him, James Cameron, how the Terminator should be. He should be like this and like this and like this. He should act like a machine because, and blah, blah, blah. And he went on to hours for James Cameron. And at one point, James Cameron was like, you know what? If you understand this character so well, I think you should play him. that's why he ended up as playing the Terminator.
Dude, I know what that sounded like. That was James Cameron going, yeah, yeah, and him going, and then yeah, he should do something like this, and like yeah, yeah, you know. If you have to listen to that shit for hours on end, I'd be like, dude, just fucking do it. You're the Terminator. You're doing that part. Just don't talk to me anymore. Yeah, he needs to be really strong. Fucking Arnold, man. Fucking Arnold.
Yeah.
I hear from people that have had to deal with him, like personally and in reality, people that know him that say that he doesn't really shut up. He does talk and talk and talk. So I can believe that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think with this movie, Mike, you need to be the one to go through it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I just saw it, but I'm not gonna be able to go through it with the enthusiasm you are, and I'm probably gonna miss shit that you're not gonna miss. So I'm gonna let you go through this. This is your movie.
It is my movie, but I thought it's one of your favorite movies too.
It is one of my favorite movies. It's just not one of those that I watch every year. Like I told you, I'll watch The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, and I'll watch Alien, and I'll watch Aliens. And a couple of the Friday the 13th movies, I watch those every year. But this is one that the last time I saw it before last night was probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And not because I don't love it. It's just that this one is not Terminator 2. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Like
I know what
this is one of the rare instances. And like you said, we were talking about earlier, there are movies that were written with the fact that it was going to have a sequel. And this is obviously one of those. Like they knew they were going to do a sequel. So the sequel is arguably better than this movie. That's not saying this movie is bad, but Terminator 2 is like a fucking force of nature. That movie is amazing.
It is, absolutely. And the crazy thing is that it holds up to nowadays. And a lot of the effects in that movie are better than in the newer ones. Yeah. What's crazy? I mean, the CGI in Terminator 2 is light years above the CGI in Dark Fate.
Yes.
And dude, Terminator 2 is 30 years old or more.
Mm-hmm.
That's what fucking pissed me off about Dark Fate. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
I read something about the reason why the CGI was so good is because they tried to adhere to the actual movement of the character so much that almost, I don't know how much of the budget, but most of the budget went to getting that CGI right.
Yeah.
Whereas nowadays it's kind of like, yeah, we need to do this and we need to do this and put some CGI here. And it's not as meticulous as it was at this time, because at this time, this was like cutting edge Terminator 2.
Yeah.
You know? But yes, you can put Terminator 2 and the CGI in that side by side with any of the fucking sequels, and it holds up.
It holds up, absolutely.
And is better.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And
this movie, on the other hand, has no CGI in it because it was before CGI hit.
Yes, actually, the first one does not really have CGI in it. Huh? Yeah,
Right.
but before we get into the movie, we still have name butchering ritual in front of us. Don't forget to give us a like on this video, comment, and give us a subscribe. And share this video on any social media platform you're on, because it really helps us out. Okay, now we have the most obvious Conan playing the Terminator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor. Michael Biehn as Kyle Reese. Earl Bowen as Dr. Peter Silverman. Bill Paxton plays the punk leader. The only actor Bill Paxton, the only actor besides Lance Henriksen that has been killed by a xenomorph, Terminator, and by a predator.
Yes, yes. It's true. It's true.
Okay, Lance Henriksen, the second one falls under the same category as Bill Paxton. Love the guy. No?
Yes.
William Wisher playing policeman. Paul Winfield playing Lieutenant Traxler. Franco Columbu playing the future Terminator. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not entirely aware what exact model he's supposed to be, but I'm going to suggest just assume he's a T. No?
I thought he was a T-102 because he looks like
Yeah.
a human.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure about T103, T104, blah blah blah, whatever. Okay, then we have Bess Motta, who plays Ginger Ventura.
Mhm.
Rick Rosovich, who plays Matt Buchanan. Okay, God, I mean that's pretty much all of the main. There are a lot more characters in this,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think it's gonna get too long. If we
Who
get
was the actor? Who was the actor that plays the police chief, the black guy?
that's Paul Winfield.
I fucking love that guy.
That guy, I love him too.
I fucking love that guy. Yeah. He does such a great job in this movie of playing a completely like distracted, stressed out cop.
It does.
Great fucking job.
Yeah,
I love
great,
it.
brilliant. Yeah, I mean, there's this is actually like all characters in this. It's one of the rare horror movies, and yes, Terminator is a horror movie. Terminator is a mix between sci-fi, thriller, and horror.
Yeah.
So that's why we're doing it. And yes, we eventually are also going to do Terminator 2. That's probably going to be the first non-horror movie that we're going to do because Terminator 2 is not a horror movie.
I mean, you
But
have to do Terminator 2. It's
yeah.
such a staple just in and it's debatable too. I mean, there's people that would say that's a horror film, Terminator 2. I know
No.
you probably wouldn't, but I mean,
No.
if I was talking about like my mom or my grandmother, they'd be like, "Oh, it's a horror movie" because it would scare the shit out of them. So I'm
Mhm.
going to say that's borderline horror film as well. But this one is definitely a horror movie.
Yeah, I mean Terminator is definitely a horror movie.
Yeah.
And it starts out with a war scene. You have like these tanks and these automatic flying HKs is what they're called, but the most people probably going to see them as futuristic helicopters.
Yeah.
You see human soldiers in a post-apocalyptic wasteland running around, and you see all the shooting, all the future war, more or less, that is going to be mentioned later on in the movie, until you have the text coming up where it says, out of the ashes of the nuclear war, the machines rose on a mission to exterminate humanity. War between humans and machines has been going on for decades. But the final battle will not be fought in the future. It will be fought in the present tonight. Then you have the theme we all know, dum 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 da dum.
Yeah.
Dum 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 da dum. And then the Terminator theme goes on.
Yeah.
And you have like
This
the
as relating to metal, we should also bring up this theme. And you can look this up. This theme right here has been used more in heavy metal albums than almost any other theme from any other movie. So much so that Fear Factory has used it in almost every single one of their albums in at least one song. Yeah, it's a very heavy metal movie that has no heavy metal in it. How about that?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You have like the typical intro where it has the Terminator go through, all the names of the actors pop up. Then it cuts back to a construction worker. In the middle of the night at 2 a.m. It even blends in the exact date, Los Angeles, 1984, until this construction worker is in his, what's it called? A baka?
He's what is this thing? It's not a tractor. I was trying to figure out when I was looking at it the other night because originally I thought it was a Mack truck, like a big truck. It's some worker who's inside of his vehicle, basically.
Yeah, exactly. However, his vehicle stops working and he's not really sure why because just it went entirely dead. Then you see all around him this electric storm starting to go off, and he just gets out of his car and runs for it. What pretty much everybody would. Huh?
This scene, I will say the lightning for 80s lightning in this scene looks great. I noticed that last night.
Yeah.
because a lot of the 80s lightning that you see used in these 80s movies looks cartoon drawn in everywhere. This shit
Yeah.
looks real. It looks real. And this guy is very nonchalant about the fact that there's all this lightning going on outside of his truck because he's just sitting in there and he's like, "What the hell, man? What the fuck? What? Oh man!" He's like, "Dude, I would be freaking the fuck out if
Yeah,
there
but
was this much electricity around my truck."
he gets out of his car and starts running. So
Yeah, but
But-
he didn't seem very shocked about it. He's like, "Oh shit, man, I'm gonna have to get a new paint job." Fuck.
yeah, however, now once this light storm is finished, you see the Terminator kneeling on the floor.
Yeah.
Now just stands up like a robot, like fully straight up, and then just looks left to right, and then just starts walking down the road until he sees this cliff. Then it cuts to three punks that are looking through a telescope, and
You've never seen three punks so excited about a fucking telescope in your life.
yeah. Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah. I mean, there are two of the punks literally fighting over to look through a telescope. Okay.
Yeah, dude.
Now,
Whatever.
however, huh?
It's just ridiculous. I was
Yeah,
like,
it is.
the fuck?
However, one of the guys says, "Hey, look over there. Look at that dude." Then you see Arnold Schwarzenegger very fast walking towards them,
Yeah.
butt naked.
Completely naked.
Completely naked.
Junk just flopping around everywhere, dude.
And-
I would be a little bit more scared than these dudes, though. I got to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, of course, these dudes walk up to him and they're just laughing.
I'd be like, "Are we about to get?" Oh wait, I can't say that. Are we about to get assaulted in a bad way?
However,
Let's face it. There's no way to get away from this guy if he wanted to do that. Like you're screwed.
no, if he wanted to do that, you're fucked pretty much. No, but the punks walk up to him, and I think the one says, "Where your clothes are all still in the clean." I can't shit. Why can't I quote
He
this?
says, it must
Huh?
be wash day."
It must be wash day. and the first three things is that Arnold, the Terminator, just
Yeah.
repeats what they're saying to begin with. No,
Wash day.
the one punk says, "Oh, this guy is 3 cans less of a 6-pack or
Yeah.
something." He says, "Yeah, something like that."
Yeah,
Then
basically
the
saying he's
Terminator said,
Looney Tune.
the Terminator is looking at all three of them. In the beginning, you're not sure what he's doing, but in Terminator 2, they show it through the side of the Terminator. He's scanning them more or less. See
Right.
which one of theirs clothes fits. That's what's shown in Terminator 2.
Right.
He looks at the one that says, "Give me your clothes." He doesn't say bike in this one. He just says, "Your clothes, give them to me."
Yeah.
They pull out a knife and like they "fuck you, asshole," and then they attack him. The Terminator just grabs the one guy and throws him multiple meters away from him. The one guy stabs him with a knife, and the Terminator just literally takes his hand and sticks it entirely through him, pulls him up, and then
Yep.
rips his hand back out.
Yes.
You don't actually see him ripping out any organs or whatever. You just see his hand full of blood.
Completely. I took it as he put his arm through the guy's stomach.
Yeah, something like that. No?
Yeah.
However, then the other punk is now first runs towards the wall because he can't get away. And while the Terminator is walking towards him, he just starts taking off his clothes. Again,
As you would.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, anybody would at this point.
Take it
Now,
all.
I'm going to assume, I'm not sure, but I'm going to assume that the Terminator didn't kill this guy because it does not really have any reason to.
No, as far as I remember, the only time he kills anybody is if they're in his way.
Yes.
So this guy
Yeah.
probably ran off naked,
Yeah,
and
probably. I mean, the Terminator kills for multiple reasons: if they're in his way, or if they possess, or if they're a threat to its mission, to
Yeah.
its objective. That's when it kills. And of course, obviously, its target. However, after that, it cuts back to a different part of the city where you see police cars driving by and everything. You see a old bum rambling some shit. And
this guy's important.
this guy is important. Another electric storm starts, just like
Yeah.
the same one with the Terminator. But this time, instead of the electric storm instantly stopping and a guy kneeling on the floor, you see like a guy just plumping out of the air and crashing onto the floor. Now you can have like easy explanation for this. This guy is Kyle Reese, the soldier sent back by John Connor. The Terminator
Right.
is a machine, so he probably can handle this time travel shit better than a human can. The
Right.
human body is much more lighter and everything, so I'm just going
Yeah.
to assume that's why uh he just came out like flying out of this portal, whatever it was.
And it's also worth noting he's the only human being that, as far as the movie canons go,
Yeah.
and like I said, I'm not considering anything past 2 canon, really.
Yeah. Me
He's the
neither.
only one we ever see sent back this way.
Yeah.
So this is the only time we see how painful this is for human beings.
Yes, it is. Yeah, because he barely manages to stand up and you can see what pain he is in. Yeah.
Yeah.
How,
Which it's worth asking real quick, do you consider Sarah Connor the Terminator Chronicles canon?
no, not at all. I don't consider them to be canon. I actually stopped watching it very early. I think it had 2 seasons, didn't it?
And it was canceled.
Yeah, but I don't know. How should I say it? I just find the concept a little bit ridiculous because the point is, this is going to be mentioned later on. Humanity wins the war, and Skynet loses. The time travel thing, specifically with the first Terminator and the T-1000, were the last resorts. That was the last thing
Right.
Skynet was going to do, and only if it lost the war, if it had no other option. So the concept of Skynet sending another Terminator back, then another one, then
Yeah.
another one, and and another one, dude.
Yeah.
Even though in the first movie it's clearly said that they destroyed the time travel thing or whatever
Right.
directly after they sent Kyle Reese through.
Right.
After him, the second Terminator, the reprogrammed one, but Uncle
Right.
Bob. So that's just why I did not watch the Sarah Connor Chronicles. I don't consider it to be canon. My canon is Terminator 1, Terminator 2, the book trilogy, Infiltrator, Future War, and Rising Storm. Infiltrator, Rising Storm, and Future War, those 3 books. I'm not sure if you've read them yet.
I read one of them and then didn't pick up the second or third one. But
Yeah.
the first one was good.
Yeah, and those are, in my opinion, canon, and the video game Terminator Resistance. That's my canon. However, then you see Kyle Reese get up and start walking through the alley. So the mom stops him. He says,
Yeah.
"Hey, man, did you see that? Real right.
This dude, man. Okay, so Mike, if you saw this guy, I mean, okay, let's put this in context. Kyle Reese is coming from a war-torn area where everybody's clothes are destroyed and nasty, and they're barely getting any showers. So I can understand that he would have no problem wearing a bum's clothes. But wearing a bum's clothes that has probably been pissing on himself and without underwear seems very drastic. I think I would have walked maybe like another maybe another like 5 minutes to maybe find a cleaner person to take their clothes.
Yeah, but yeah, probably, but
And it's not like they're just a little dirty, right? Because when he takes this guy's clothes, his pants, and runs away, you can see from behind that the pants have been shat in, or that the guy has pissed all over himself because there's a huge stain on the back of the pants. And
Yeah.
I was just like, oh god, fuck, no,
yeah,
but whatever.
yeah, but yeah. I get that point, probably, but considering the people he's usually around, this is like
Probably not a
normal
big
dude
deal.
thing.
Yeah,
To him, it's probably not a big deal, but you can see in the future scenes how the people are walking around.
yeah.
So, considering the world he's from, yeah, no,
I can forgive it. It just happens to be the thing that people always joke about with this movie.
yeah, of
Is
course,
that so I think it's worth mentioning that it's disgusting.
it is definitely worth mentioning.
Yeah.
However, then a cop car pulls by while he's just putting on the pants from the bum. They tell him to freeze and stop. No, because obviously they think he's robbing a bum. What technically he's doing. And he instantly just runs. Probably because he has no idea what a police car is. But
Yeah.
he sees this guy is a trained soldier that's used to fighting killer machines.
Right.
Any flashing light coming towards him, he's probably gonna be an alarm sign to him. So
Yeah.
he just runs.
Yeah.
The cop gets out of the car and follows him. He shortly hides and then overpowers the cop pretty fast, taking his gun away from him, pointing the gun at him, screaming at him, "Where are we?" He says, "Los Angeles." "What's the date?" And then the cop says the date, and he says, "What year?" And then the cop is totally confused.
What,
Like,
motherfucker?
then the other he sees another cop car pull up, and then he just runs. And lets the cops stay there. Breaks into a building that turns out to be a mall.
Yeah.
And the cops are chasing him through this mall, he's constantly finding places to hiding from the cops. While doing so, picking out new clothes. Like a shirt, a jacket, and shoes and everything. But
I really like how picky this guy is. Every article of clothing that he picks, like this is something that is easy to look over, but every article of clothing he picks has a certain purpose in mind, right? Because he's a soldier, he knows he needs weapons and
Yeah.
he's going to be hiding weapons. So the first thing that he gets is the big trench coat because you can hide stuff underneath the trench coat. And the shoes are obviously running shoes, which he's going to be doing a lot of running. So everything he does, he's meticulous about doing it.
Of course.
And
yeah.
yeah. And the argument I always hear from people, which this is stupid because I've talked about this movie before with people. They're like, yeah, he's too good at what he does. He comes from the future and he just comes here and he automatically knows where to get everything. He automatically knows. And I'm like, yeah, because he was trained to do this shit by John Connor. John Connor explained all this past to him. He explained where he could get things. He explained what weapons there were, probably what he needed to wear, where to go to get it.
Yeah. But
he's very well trained for this kind of thing.
Yeah. Kyle Reese is not some normal guy from the future. This is just like you said, he's a trained soldier. He was trained by the resistance and has been fighting for over a decade. He's trained to fight killer robots and worse things.
Yeah.
And also he's used to scavenging as well, what he did as a child.
Right.
So his years as scavenging throughout a wasteland and then being trained as a soldier and for over a decade fighting killer machines.
Yeah,
absolutely. I would say I'm going to make the argument. I mean, put this guy up against a soldier from the 80s, from the present, and I absolutely think he could probably totally fuck them up.
He would have decimated anybody in any squad that I was ever in. I'll tell you that right now. This guy, you could have put him up against the entire police force that was in that building, and he would have handled that no problem.
Yeah, I mean,
this guy's a survivor.
Absolutely. You just have to consider what this guy is coming from.
Yeah,
he's a trained soldier. He's been a soldier for who knows how long, and he's not up against what soldiers are up against in our time. He's up against killer robots.
Yeah, that are fast. Have unlimited endurance and also can pick you out from miles away. In this, he's fighting fat cops.
He's fighting fat cops. And by the way, not only is this a trained soldier that's just like you say, used to fight killer robots that are fast, no endurance. Him and his people won against him.
Yeah, right. Yes, yeah.
But
no contest. No contest.
However. Kyle Reese manages to get away from the cops, to sneak around them. Gets out over, I think, the fire what's
escape.
It called?
Yeah.
The fire escape.
Yeah.
Steals the shotgun from out of the police car, hides under his trench coat, and then starts walking on the street. First, he starts running. First, he's cautious because a car cop comes driving up towards him. Okay. I think this is the point also where he realizes, these are just the authorities in this time, and they probably don't know who I am. So if I just don't act suspicious.
Exactly, which is
Yeah.
a far cry better than what he's used to, you know? Like, he's probably walking through this like a walk in the park because he's like, "Oh, shit." You know, they don't have any night vision, they don't have any heat vision, they don't have any, like, extra things. I can just act like a normal person, and all of a sudden, I'm fucking invisible.
Yeah,
This is a
actually,
walk in the park for this guy. Yeah.
it's a walk in the park for this guy, and it's also it's interesting what all of this how this must be for this guy. I mean, it's like just walking freely through the streets without any fear. What I also I personally thought was more believable to me
Mhm.
is that Kyle Reese would have probably just forget his mission.
Yeah, I thought that too, but at the
Yeah.
same time, he understands what's at stake. You know what I mean?
Of course, but I probably guess that is probably a very strong pull from him to see how
Yeah,
this world is. Because even if he fucks up and gets locked up in the jail or in prison or for whatever, dude, that's still for him 10 times better than what he's used to.
exactly, exactly. It would have been very easy to just stop at and have a beer and take in the air a little bit.
Yeah,
Is This is actually really fucking nice compared to what he's
yeah,
used to. Like you said, I mean, it would have been really hard for me to not just be like, "Yeah, man, let me get a beer," and then just stand on the corner and like enjoy how humanity probably should have been because he's never experienced it. This is
no.
the first time he's ever experiencing anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah, because he later on tells a little bit of Sarah Connor of how he grew up.
yeah,
However, he instantly runs towards a telephone book, looks up Sarah Connor's address, and rips out the newspaper
right.
page.
Yeah.
Right after that, it cuts back to the next day. Sarah Connor driving through the streets on her scooter.
Yes.
Then she, of course, arrives at work. She works at a burger,
Like a diner,
uh, a
like a
diner,
burger
pretty much
diner.
something
Yeah.
like that. Basically, she gets up into work, talking to her colleagues, puts in stamps in her time, and you see the name Sarah Connor. And then there it pretty much ends. Then it cuts directly back to the Terminator. He's just standing there looking around the streets, figuring out where to go to next. Breaks into a car, hot wires it, and then drives off.
Yeah.
Stops by a telephone booth, gets out of the car, walks up towards the telephone booth, just grabs the guy and pulls him away from the fucking phone. And then really, the guy is talking to, I
That guy
guess.
is not angry enough either. Like
Yeah,
he
I
like
mean,
pulls him away and he's like, "What's wrong with you, man?" And then that's the last time you hear anything from him.
yeah, but I mean, it's the dubbing, but in German, he's much angrier. Because in
Okay.
German, if you watch it in German, what he says in German, he really screams at it. Hey, you dumb fucker, why would you look in the telephone book under asshole? You probably find your number there. That's what he says in German.
Pretty good. They should have done that in English too.
Yeah.
Because this guy is not mad enough. He's just like, "What's wrong with you, man?" And then that's all you get.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I can say that they've done in German better. In the German dubbing. Huh?
Yeah.
However, Terminator does the exact same thing. He pulls out the telephone book, Sarah Connor, and rips out the page for the address.
Yeah.
There's one advantage, though. This is also something that people bring up.
Okay.
I've had discussions over the years. Reese, he instantly knows where to go, and the Terminator has to take out all these and blah blah blah. This is like, okay, for one thing, later on it's said in the movie that Skynet did not know the exact address of John
Exactly.
Connor's mother.
Yep.
Only the city she lived in. Now the point is, Kyle Reese was sent back by John Connor. And it's safe to assume he knew his mother's address.
Yeah, I'm
I
sure
mean,
I mean, we see her in Terminator 2. She definitely told him what her address was. That woman is fucking dangerous and on top of it in part 2.
And part 2. Yeah, so so that's why of course it's mind-blowing. Of course, a soldier that was sent back to protect John Connor's mother. Of course, John Connor was going to tell him where to find his mom.
Yeah, and he's probably the only person he told that to as well.
And and of course he has a picture from her. Yeah, duh.
Yeah, we see her take the picture at the end of the movie.
Mm.
That's the picture she gives
But
him.
the point is, the people don't know that at the end of the movie. And by the way, and yeah, of course he has a picture. Yeah, of course. John Connor sent him back, told her the address of his mom, and gave him a picture of his mom. so he knows what she looks like.
Right.
I mean,
Of course.
I'm not even a soldier, dude. But if you put a soldier out on a mission like this, those are like the two core things you're going to tell him.
Yeah, you're going to give him all the information that you can possibly give him to help him get to your mom quicker than a machine would. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and
When it
comes,
plus he probably wasn't sure what type of shape Kyle Reese was going to be in when he got there either, because this is the
yeah,
first time that a human has gone through the time travel process. So he could have been completely fucked up. Oh, okay. What am I missing here?
not if you consider Terminator Resistance canon.
Oh, okay. Well,
Because
James
Jacob,
Cameron said it was canon, so I mean, it is
yeah,
canon.
James Cameron said Terminator Resistance was canon. That means the first human who time traveled was Jacob Rivers.
Okay.
Another resistance soldier, but he was only sent back a few months.
Okay.
Just like the first Terminator. Because
Okay.
Skynet, after it created the time travel machine, it sent back a Terminator a few months in the past to annihilate Jacob Rivers. Because Jacob Rivers was the soldier that found out where Skynet's core was, and Skynet had to know if the time travel machine works. So it sent back a Terminator to kill Jacob Rivers. That's more
Okay.
or less the plot line of Terminator Resistance.
Okay.
Because you have a mysterious figure that constantly contacts you throughout the game, Matt.
Okay.
The
Yeah, that's
guy
right.
with
It's been a while
the
since I
mask.
played it. Yeah.
And it comes out at the end that the guy in the mask is yourself from the
Yeah.
future, Jacob Rivers, more or less. So you could say he's the second person. And Jacob Rivers, by the way, got in contact with the Resistance and told John Connor everything.
Yeah.
So that's more
Okay.
or less how John Connor knew that at the end, after Kyle Reese, he also had to send back Jacob Rivers.
Yeah, it gets crazy. The canon gets nuts.
It gets crazy, but that's entirely different thing. What we maybe could get into a little bit later.
Probably Terminator 2, we can get into it.
Yeah, but also
it comes
things
up
bring
more
up that he
than
can use weapons or whatever. Now, this is also a thing that's canon, not necessarily only Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. What can explain how Kyle Reese can use weapons from this time? The human resistance throughout the majority of the war did not use plasma or laser guns. They used normal guns. The first Terminator types that started to pop up, like the T-400s, the T-500s, and the T-600s, those were all models that came before the Terminator we know, the T-800. That is the Arnold Schwarzenegger, the endoskeleton.
Right.
The human flesh on top of that is the T-101. Now, the point is, the T-400, there was even one before the T-400s. The T-400 and the T-500, they were very easily killable. But those were also units that weren't created by Skynet until the human resistance actually became a threat.
Right.
Before that, it was like these big automatic tanks running around, and there were no really infiltration units.
Right.
Already after the war between Skynet and the human resistance already went on for a few years, the human resistance actually became a threat to Skynet, and that was when it had to start building these infiltration units, as known as the Terminators. No?
Yeah.
However, it led up to the five.
Which is an awesome example about warfare nowadays too. It's actually used in the U.S. Army to explain. This is funny. I don't even know if I mentioned this to you. It's actually Terminator is actually used in the U.S. Army as an argument for foot soldiers, because we always say, "Oh, wars are going to be fought in the sky and on the ground with machines in the future. There's no reason to put anybody in a uniform." Blah blah blah. They say, "Well, actually, the Terminators probably lost because they didn't create foot soldiers quick enough, and so wars will always be fought by soldiers first and foremost."
I mean
right.
That's right, but that's an argument you can make. It's not like Skynet did not start from the beginning. It didn't late that it started to make infiltrators too late. Nah?
Right.
A threat to Skynet is even a very slow threat. In the beginning, Skynet did not see much of a threat in the human resistance.
They underestimated him completely. Yeah.
Yeah, but once it became a threat, that does not mean a significant threat. That does not mean, okay, I could actually lose the war. It is in the moment when the human resistance actually posed a threat to Skynet, no?
Yeah.
That's when it started creating the infiltrators, no?
Yeah.
And up until the T600 series, or the
Mhm.
T500, the human resistance used normal guns. Eventually, no, they started to use plasma guns like Skynet. They stole the technology from Skynet, no? And this is what gave them, for a short time, the upper hand against the T600s, because the T600s, they were vulnerable to plasma weapons.
Right.
And as a result, Skynet created the T800
Yeah.
that was durable to plasma weapons. So the T800 can even withstand plasma weapons for a short period of time.
Right.
So that's also, and this is also something that happens in the span of a few years. So Kyle Reese also was trained in using normal weapons.
Right. Yeah.
And considering the resources the human resistance had, their machine guns are not going to be that much more advanced than the ones we have.
Right.
They probably will be more advanced, but the human resistance is kind of like fighting with whatever they can get.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
hodgepodge. They have to use wherever society stopped
Yeah.
creating weapons. Those are the weapons that they're stuck using. They can modify those. I'm sure
Yeah.
they did, but
Yeah.
they were stuck where humanity stopped in terms of
Yeah.
weapons, which is interesting, you know. Which
Yeah.
is why in the future you see them also carrying normal weapons. There was so correct me if I'm wrong, we'll get to the scene, but when the one Terminator infiltrates that base that he's in this film, that guy is carrying a normal bullet weapon, correct? It's
I have
not
to look
a
back, but as
plasma
far as
weapon.
I know, he's carrying a plasma weapon. But I have to
Okay.
check. But I
Yeah,
would
I was pretty sure it was bullets, but that might have been just to
yeah. I
make them
mean,
think that he was human.
I'm pretty sure it was plasma weapon. The Terminator is using a plasma weapon. No?
Okay.
But I know
Okay.
at the time the cyborg Terminators, although I'm gonna call them now what they're called, the T101s or the T102s, huh?
Yeah.
At the time those things put up, the humans usually already use plasma weapons. Because the
Okay.
humans were mostly the human resistance were
Yeah.
using plasma weapons before the T800s were created. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So then where did I stop, in present day?
So he had just gotten his trench coat and the shotgun, and that's where
Yes.
we
Okay.
stopped.
Yeah, we're at
Yeah.
Sarah Connor. The Terminator just got the phone book, back out. Exactly. Okay. Then it cuts back to Sarah Connor again. She's at the diner, doing her job or whatever, fucking up because she's nervous and she just has a shitty day at work. A kid
Yeah.
sticks ice cream in her in her skirt.
Yeah,
Well,
she's not she has a pretty shitty job.
yeah, just overall a real shitty day.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Movie
she's
cuts into
one thing I like about her though is she does have a very good attitude. Like this is a very likable person all the way around.
yes, absolutely. Sarah Connor is
And
one of the yeah.
it's a very
All
far cry from where we see her in part 2.
yes. You have to consider what happens to her in
I
part
know.
one.
I
I
know, but
mean,
that's what I'm
no,
saying. Shit
I
changes
mean,
people, you know?
I mean, shit changes people. For one, the situation in this movie, her knowing what is going to happen in future, no.
Yeah.
Also Kyle Reese in itself because she falls in love with Kyle
Yeah.
Reese. He falls in love with her.
Yeah.
And her wanting to prepare her son for what's going to come. Huh?
Yeah.
It's just all of those things. This entire experience that she's going to have throughout this movie just instantly changes her. Huh?
Yeah, what a
But
mind fuck.
even though, I mean, even in this movie, she's a very likable character.
Mhm.
And after that in Terminator 2 as well. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, however, then it cuts back to the Terminator. Now that's pulled up. You see a car drive up, and the car just instantly hit in a Goitar.
Yeah.
The Terminator gets out and starts walking up towards a house. You see a dog barking at it, but the Terminator just does not really care much. He shortly looks at it, but then briefly keeps on walking.
Mhm.
Knocks on the door, and then a woman opens up the door for a crack. The Terminator just let her Sarah Connor. She says yes, and he just rips the door open, pulls out a gun, and starts shooting at her. No,
Yeah.
first shoots her in the head, and then shoots her a few more times in the chest. This is one thing that you can say. This is one thing I was interesting that people do not bring up very often. No, this is a machine, a robot that is specifically designed and built to kill humans. It has a perfect data on the human autonomy. It should know if it shoots it in a human in the head once, it's dead. Why waste the bullets?
There's an argument that can be made for that
Yeah.
I can make.
Yeah.
Just because you shoot somebody in the head does not make them dead.
Okay.
I can tell you that. I'm not going to talk about it, but I'm going to tell you right now that is not a dead ringer for someone being dead.
Okay. Now, okay. However, okay. So I guess you're a soldier. I'm going to believe you in that case. He probably first shoots her in the head, probably then the heart, and then the lung.
Yeah.
I guess probably. Because he shoots
it's actually
3 times.
standard military procedure. So if you do take someone out and you do get a headshot, you are supposed to shoot 2 into the torso afterwards. So that's actually standard military procedure, believe it or not.
Okay, then it makes sense.
So he's actually doing what we would do,
Okay, I did not know that. No, but okay, however, then it cuts back to Sarah Connor at work while her co-worker walks up to her. Oh, Sarah, you have to see this. No? And then she sits in the break room, Sarah in front of a TV, and there's a broadcasting saying that Sarah Connor was killed and blah blah blah, and her coworker just laughing at her. You're dead, bitch. Said something like something on the lines of that. Huh?
And what a mind fuck.
Yeah. What a mind fuck. What a mind fuck, totally. But at this point, nobody really sees much in it. No.
Yeah.
Then it cuts back to later at night. Duh? Where Sarah Connor and her friend or roommate are getting ready for a party. No, because they both have her dates. Now her friend Ginger is going to have her boyfriend come over, and Sarah is getting also ready for a date. No? When the telephone rings, and you have like the guy on the phone instantly starting dirty talk, because he assumes it's going to be his girlfriend Ginger on the phone. This is a funny scene, by the way.
Yeah, I appreciate the comedy here.
Yeah, she just sits there, has to try to prevent herself from laughing. Yeah. And at one point, just says, "Who is there?" And you see the guy jump up, scared, totally nervous. No?
And he's like, "Oh shit! I thought it would be Ginger that answered the phone."
It is
fucking
funny.
idiot.
It is. I mean, it's like this is also something I have like friends of my older sister come like, "Oh my god, what an asshole!" Blah blah blah. This is like girl, dude. This guy probably thought he was going to be talking to his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And if you see,
but he is a dumbass because he knows she has a roommate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean he might be a dumbass, but if you look at his girlfriend Ginger, appears to be a very nice girl, but she's also, I would not say, the type of girl that might be.
She is definitely not a prude. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Which is great.
It's great, but it's just like one of those things. I mean, Ginger, I can see Ginger and Matt totally being together. Those are, if you see those two people, yeah, they fit together. So probably
they fit. Yeah. Gonna produce some really dumb kids.
Yeah, they do this shit probably all the time. However, whatever. Yeah. No? Shortly when they're done, Sarah gets a voicemail from her boyfriend at the time, I'm going to assume, a guy she's dating. No? That says he can't make it and blah blah blah. No?
Right.
While Ginger is complaining about I'm gonna break his knees or whatever. No? And at this time Sarah Connor just got a hold of her pet lizard that she would you give her my Buxley, I think is his name.
Buxley is the lizard's name, yeah.
Is the lizard's name. At least you still love me. Ginger is instantly grossed out by it. Huh?
Yeah.
Sarah decides to just go out and see a movie, tells that to Ginger, leaves the door, gets scared by Matt.
Yeah.
Ginger's boyfriend. He just smiles, laughs at her, and she keeps going on her way.
Hi, Max.
Oh, hey! Hi, Max!
Hey, Max.
Huh? Fitting name for the movie we're doing now.
Yeah. Okay. And now we went down. Quick hello.
Mm-hmm. Quick hello. This time a dog, not a ferret.
Yes.
Sarah goes off, driving off on her scooter while Reese is following her. However, this is okay. Then it cuts back to the police. What's it called? Polizeirevier. What's the
Police
English?
station.
Police
Police station.
station. Exactly.
I
Police. It
did I
cuts.
did want to say something about the boyfriend too, though, of Sarah Connor, but I think
Yeah.
we can get into that towards the end because
Yes,
this is
I was.
this is interesting and really easy to miss, and you're the one that clued me in on it.
Because
So
you noticed it this time, didn't you? Not
yeah, I noticed it. I completely missed it. But I think there's a few things to consider there, but I'm going to bring them up later, kind of towards the end. But just for the viewer, remember that she had a boyfriend that she may or may not have been going steady with.
this is important when it comes to
Yes.
another thing we're going to bring up.
Yeah.
However, then we're at the police station now, and you have the cops discussing basically what's going down. You have like Lance Henriksen's character and Paul Winfield's character. God damn it, I can't remember these guys' names. I really feel ashamed now, but
It doesn't matter. Let's call Bishop Bishop. He can be
Bishop.
Bishop. Yeah.
Bishop, exactly. We'll call him Bishop. However, Bishop is bringing up these murders that they've been going through, that they have these 2 murders, and that he believes that there's a serial killer going on. He's talking to his boss, Paul Winfield, and they're going, shit, things are happening. He's like, yeah, whatever. He's not taking this seriously. I guess probably this is LA, so these cops probably see a lot of murders and homicides every day.
Yeah. This is LA in the 80s. And if you know
Yeah.
anything about LA in the 80s, it was the murder capital of the world.
Yeah,
It was
exactly. So this is just like, for this cop, is just like another
another day
Tuesday.
at the office. Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh no, another fucking shitty day." And it's like, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. However, then he says, why do you think there's a connection here, nah?" And Bishop just says, "Look at the names."
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, fucking shit." That is reaction. He's
Both
like, "Oh
called
my
Sarah
God."
Connor. Yeah.
Yeah, he says, and then there's like, then they instantly know what's happening. He says, "Oh my God, they're the media, the news media are probably going to call him a telephone book killer or some
Yeah.
stupid shit like that."
So he's clued into the fact that both of them are called Sarah Connor
Yeah,
and that could be a reason to worry. And then he says, well, the media is going to have a field day. And then they both kind of sit back on their tables and they're like, fuck. And the funny thing here is that the boss, the police station chief, is already smoking a cigarette. And they're obviously stressed out because there's shit going down in the background. You hear telephones going
exactly.
off
Yeah,
about a murder,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
somebody else screaming that, where's my husband? I want to see my husband, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, God, can you give me a cigarette? And Bishop hands him a cigarette and he's
They
about to
said,
put it in his mouth when he realizes he already has one in the other hand.
Mhm.
I fucking love that context. That's like,
Yeah,
that's how it is for a busy cop in a big
yeah,
city like that.
yeah. I mean, I might mix up 1 or 2 scenes, however.
It's okay.
And then they're basically discussing how they should continue this or whatever. I have to try to contact the Connor girl. Yeah, I tried to call her. It's in the car there. I've already done that. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
called her 5 minutes ago. Then call her again.
They're
Because they're
trying to
trying to
make
get
contact with the real Sarah Connor to warn her that she might be in danger.
exactly.
And
No, that
nobody can keep in touch with her. Yeah.
yeah, but because she's not at home,
Right.
and
She's working.
they
Right.
can see why they're not, because you can see the phone ringing after that. Oh, now I know exactly what happens. Right after you have that scene, you see a phone ringing, and you see Ginger and Matt banging. That's
Yeah.
why nobody's on the phone. Nobody's
Right.
picking up the phone. Then it cuts back to in the police station between Bishop and Winfield. And Winfield just starts tidying up his tie and taking off his glasses. But I said, "What are you going to do?" And he says, "Well, I'm going to have these fucking sharks out there. We're forest ones. I'm going to give them a statement. And if we're lucky, she might see the news somewhere and might contact us." And it just stops like, "How do I look?" And the bishop is like shit. It's really Winfield. Yo, mama opens up the door and walks out. I love that.
I was
Scene.
waiting for you to get to that scene. I love that. I
Yeah,
love that fucking color. He's like, you look like shit. Yo, mama.
yo, mama.
It's fucking great, dude.
However, then it cuts back then to Sarah Connor eating pizza in some pizzeria, I guess, or whatever. Now she
Yeah.
sees the news broadcasting. First, doesn't really pay much attention to it until she also hears her name again. no?
Yeah.
That the police have provided a statement. And more or less, the broadcasting is basically about, police have confirmed there's a serial killer on the loose, and he's specifically targeting women named Sarah Connor. This is where Sarah Connor first actually starts to take it seriously.
Yeah.
Runs towards a telephone book and looks up her name. This is where
Right.
she notices that hers is the next on the list.
That's right.
So she's not stupid. She knows that she's probably the next target. Now, to whoever this guy is. No?
Yeah.
Phone in the bar doesn't work. So her first impulse is to go call the cops. So she has to get a phone somewhere. Goes
Right.
out on the street and instantly knows that she's being followed by someone. That creeps her
Yeah.
out instantly. No? This is Reese following her. Duh. I mean, of course, a guy following her in a trench coat, obviously hiding something in
I
his
was gonna
jacket.
say that's never a
Dude.
good sign, being followed by a guy in a trench coat.
No. I mean, any woman would be freaked out by
He's
this
either
guy.
gonna flash you or shoot you.
Or
One or the other.
However, so she very fastly comes across a club, or disco is what they were called at the time, Tech Noir. No? Ask if she can use the phone. The lady says, yeah, but you have to pay for entrance. So she pays for entrance and goes in. No? Then after a few times, she constantly, again and again, tries to call the cops, but can't get through because she's pulled to an operator, and then she's put redirected to whatever. A few times, she also tries to call Ginger at home to warn her that somebody might be coming. So right after she goes into the club Tech Noir, that's where it cuts back to Sarah's apartment. And you can already see the police car driving away, and the Terminator walking up towards her apartment. However, because nobody opens up the door, the Terminator apparently decides to climb up over the balconies. No?
Yeah.
How did it do this? Well, it's a superhuman Terminator. This thing probably figured it out somehow.
I mean, was that ever a point of contention?
No, yes. I've talked to people about this. How he could walk, how he could get up multiple floors and enter by the window. Dude, this guy is a
fucking stupid. There's no way. There's no need to explain this.
For one, he's a cyborg. You don't know how high he can jump. By the way, this Terminator has superhuman level strength that we don't know. He does not tire. Even if he falls down one or two times, it's not going to hurt him. But whatever. However, Ginger goes. Now it's coming back to the apartment with Ginger and Matt. Ginger went out to the kitchen to make them a midnight snack, while Matt more or less ignores a little bit on the bed sleeping. When the Terminator enters the room through the window, and Matt instantly starts a fight with him. You see, like, Ginger listening to music on her headphones, so not hearing what's happening in the other room, while you have a short, very, very short fight between Matt and the Terminator.
Very short fight.
However, Ginger, now finished with their midnight snack, is walking back towards the bedroom, while Matt comes flying through the door. And even though these are, I think, this shows the strength of the Terminator, because you don't know at what point he was in the room, and to have, this is not like the door just opening. The door is ripped out of its angles, and the guy is laying forward. That takes a lot of force to do that. And of course, she's instantly scared. Because instantly freaks out what every normal person would do. The Terminator just walks out of the room, pulls out a gun. She starts running, but he shoots her a few times
in the back.
Then she's dead. Of course, the Terminator at this point obviously thinks that she's Sarah Connor. But however, at this point, he's looking at her to make sure, picks her arm up. I guess he's just checking to see if she's dead. Then reloading his weapon. In this moment, you hear the what's it called, voicemail at the time. The voicemail goes off where you hear a voice. Oh, Ginger, it's me, Sarah. I'm waiting here in this club Tech Noir. Instantly, the Terminator reacts to it. And this is also where it's confirmed the Terminator that this is not Sarah Connor.
Right. And that's one of the things I noticed too, is it's like had Sarah Connor not made that call, this might have all been over. Is
Exactly.
what I thought. Because
Exactly.
this Terminator
If
doesn't have any way of knowing that it's her. You know,
no, it doesn't have no pictures, no anything.
nothing.
If Sarah did not make this call, the Terminator would have seen its objective as complete.
Yeah.
And who knows what it would have done afterwards. I'm going to assume by the books, the book trilogy that I read, what the Terminator technically would have done. The most logical thing is the Terminator would try to figure out a way to hide itself from everybody until the future war starts. It has enough energy to last itself for 150 years. What it probably would have done is went out into the desert into a bunker somewhere and hidden itself.
Yeah.
Because that is the most logical thing that it would have done, because it being detected in the past would have been a threat to Skynet itself. No? Also, if you read the books that I mentioned, it's also known that Skynet sent back a third cyborg, the I-950 that you probably know of. Exactly. And this
And the
I-950,
I-950, how was it different than this one? I forget.
the I-950 cyborg does not have a robot indoor skeleton. More or
Okay.
less, you have like the T-101 is like Skynet takes a T-800 and puts human organs, blood, and meat over it to turn it into a cyborg.
Right.
But all of the human flesh and blood it has, the Terminator does not need to survive. That's just
Okay,
disguise,
yeah.
more or less. It
Right.
has machinery in itself to keep all of the human organs or whatever alive, obviously, because that is living tissue. The
Right.
I-950 is differently because Skynet took embryos, artificially grew them, and then piece for piece replaced certain parts of these humans with cybernetic implants, turning them into cyborgs.
Right.
Their bone structure is made more endurable through nanotechnology, and they're controlled by a computer in their brains. But the I-950 is a cyborg that was meant to infiltrate humans and live under humans for long periods of times. Unlike the T-101s or the T-1000s that can only emulate human behavior to a certain extent, the I-950s can emulate it perfectly.
Okay.
Because they have a human brain. That was a thing that Skynet noticed, that a machine cannot perfectly emulate human behavior. The I-950s could do that.
So
The
they were
issue
meant
with
to completely infiltrate humans and completely live as one of them without anybody noticing.
The
Okay.
issue was there were not much I-950s at the end of the war. Skynet started the development of the I-950s around the same time it started the development of the T-800s and the T-101s. The issue was that it took a very long time to make the I-950s
Yeah.
because you had to accelerate the aging, then stop it for a few years, for a few weeks, then accelerate it again, or either the embryos died. From about 200 or 300 embryos Skynet created for the first batch of I-950s, at the end it only had like a dozen functional units.
Okay. Okay.
Because a lot from these 200 or 300 embryos, only a lot of them either didn't survive, or after they were turned into these cyborgs things, they became sentient, and their
Okay.
human brains could overwrite the computer. No?
Okay.
What Skynet saw them as dysfunctional and destroyed them.
Okay.
More
Okay.
or less.
Gotcha.
That's why even the human resistance did not know of the existence of the I-950s. The only one that knew that was Skynet, and there were only 12 of them. Most of them were female, and they can't
Okay.
reproduce anyway. So, however, what I want to come down to, this is brought up in the book series. Now, this is also a reason why Skynet is still created after the events of Terminator 2, because Skynet, shortly after the T-1000, sent back an I-950 with the objective to clean up after the other Terminators, to prevent any knowledge of Skynet coming out to public and ensuring Skynet's creation.
Okay. Okay.
That is what the
Gotcha.
objective of the I-950 was. The
Okay.
I-950 did not have any objective to go after John or Sarah Connor. It was just there to clean up at all of the shit the other Terminators do and make sure that Skynet is created.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we need a
Um,
movie about that.
well, this is the thing we can come up with because I would say that Terminator 3 took a lot of inspiration from the first book, Infiltrator, because the story is very, very similar. Even the way the I-950 is described in the books, it looks exactly like the
Like the
TX.
Terminator in 3. Okay. Gotcha.
Absolutely. I mean, if you read the book Infiltrator, she's just Selena is her name. No,
Yeah.
she gives herself a name. No,
Okay.
and how the I-950 is described is exactly the way the TX looks.
Okay.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's the book that they used for her. Okay.
Yeah. So they can't tell me that Terminator 3 that they did not take inspiration from that.
Yeah. But Terminator
And
3 is not canon anyway. But yeah, I would
yeah,
say they
but
definitely.
and also Skynet used the T-101s to train the I-950s. Also, the I-950s are as strong as the T-101s, but not as endurable. They can be killed by normal weapons.
Okay.
They're
Well,
just
it
hard
makes
to
sense.
kill.
I mean, they're
It
basically
makes sense.
human with
Yeah,
a couple better parts. Yeah.
exactly. They're you can't kill them with one or two shots, but you can kill them with normal weapons. No?
Okay.
However. Okay. Good. Then after that, you see the Terminator. Cuts back to the police station because the Terminator now knows that the woman he killed is not Sarah Connor.
Right.
The Terminator goes through all the belongings in the apartment of Sarah Connor, finds a notebook of her where addresses are in, but people she knows, and finds a picture of
Yeah.
Sarah. So now the Terminator knows
What she looks like.
he looks like. Also, something when I was younger, I saw people bring up why he doesn't keep the picture, why you never see him looking at the picture
He
again.
doesn't need to. He's got it
He's a
saved.
robot.
Yeah.
He's a fucking
Not just a
cyborg. He
robot.
look-
He's
he-
more highly evolved than our computers we have now. He's
I
essentially
mean,
an
he
AI.
looks at it and just saves a picture in his head.
Right.
I got this.
People are fucking stupid, dude. Fucking stupid.
I mean, I've read comments about this, Matt, on the internet. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry if I offend you, but you're an idiot.
Yeah. We're talking about an AI software that eventually becomes, sentient. Of course, it's along the lines of what we have now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, well, this is another discussion we could get into. The Terminator is not sentient, not at all.
Right. Yeah, I know
Well,
that.
yeah.
So the military software itself is an AI
I
that
mean,
becomes sentient. The robots are just things that it controls.
yeah, but
Right.
even though the Terminators potentially can become sentient,
Yeah.
but they have a failsafe programmed into them.
Yeah.
That Skynet can control that anytime. When Terminators are in its Skynet, it sets their CPU from learning information to only reading information. No,
Right.
there's a switch in their head. That means its CPU is set that it can only read information. For there, it only uses information inside its program objective. Everything outside is
Yep.
irrelevant to that. It will not learn anything new and cannot become sentient. That is something Skynet specifically put in there because so that the cyborgs will not become a threat to itself. That is
Right.
also the reason why the T-1000 was a prototype and only one prototype existed.
Yep.
Because Skynet could not control the T-1000 once it sent it back in time. Once it
Okay.
was outside of its network, Skynet had no way to control it anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And so it cannot say if the T-1000 would become sentient or not.
Right.
That was a major risk for Skynet. That's why
Yeah.
only one of them existed.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, this might be going off script, and we'll probably end up talking about it when we do Terminator 2, but
Yeah.
there's a deleted scene from Terminator 2 where they actually pop open the head of Uncle Bob to do something. And I think it was something with his onboard chip had to be changed.
watch-
Did that have anything to do with sentience?
Yes. Yes, that's
Okay,
exactly what.
that's what it was. Okay,
Because you have to watch the movie now, Matt, because that scene is put back
I
in
know.
modern versions.
That's the
What?
one that I watched. I'm
Yeah,
glad they
yeah.
put it
I
back
want
in too because it
yeah.
made so much sense.
It made more sense why because that was a big plot hole back in the day why Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator 2 started to act more human like, started
Yep,
to learn, started to become sentient because how? Now the thing is this is
right.
mentioned in Terminator 2 and what they do in this gas station is they shortly deactivate Uncle Bob, take
Yep,
out his chip and flip this switch to
yeah,
reading from to learning information.
right.
And after this gas station is the point where the Terminator starts to learn
Yeah,
because now it can think outside of its programming.
yeah.
That's where, yeah,
That's what that
exactly.
was. I
Yeah,
was glad they
yeah,
put that back in, and I have no
yeah,
idea why they took it out. But
good.
we'll get to that when we do T2. But I
Yeah,
just thought
exactly.
that was cool because without
Yeah,
that aspect in the movie, there are some things that do not make sense. So
yes.
it's a questionable why they took it out in the first place. But
Yeah, who
whatever.
knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
However, then after that, it cuts back to the police station. Finally, Sarah Connor gets through to the police chief, and she's on the phone. She's halfway panicking and blah blah blah. He says, "Oh, please don't redirect me. Please don't hack him." He says, "Hey," he tries to calm her down. Everything's cool. Just tell me where you are.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I'm at this club." Tech Noir says, "Yeah, I know where that is. I'm gonna send a car there instantly." No, he says, "Hey, just listen to me. You're at a public place. That means you're safe.
Yeah.
Stay where you are. We're sending a cop car there. Don't go anywhere, not even to the toilet.
Yeah.
Where stay in the crowd." Of
Yeah.
course, no? What
Yeah.
is the best thing you can do for a woman in her situation at the whatever? No?
Right.
She hangs up and it sits back on a table. Now I'm just going to assume this is maybe a few minutes, maybe 30, 40 minutes away because now the Terminator is a tech noir. You can make up a point how we got there so fast. I mean,
I mean, it's not really super important,
it's not
honestly, because
important. It's not.
there's a
It's
few
not
things
weird.
he could have done to figure it out. We just didn't see him. And that's what I chalk that up to. Not
Yeah,
everything has to be explained, you know?
exactly. However, the Terminator just walks into the club while the girl on the cash register says, "Hey, that guy didn't pay." The bouncer walks up to him and he just instantly grabs and breaks his hand. No,
Yeah.
and then just walks in.
Yeah.
And you have like the Terminator. Now it's a short scene where he's walking through the entire club, scanning everybody, looking for Sarah Connor because he knows that she's here now. No?
Yeah.
Then it cuts all. Now this is a short scene where it cuts between Sarah Connor and the Terminator and Kyle Reese because Sarah Connor looks over at the bar and sees Kyle Reese
Yeah.
staring at her. No?
Yeah.
Freaked out instantly. No? And from other side of the room, the Terminator automatically spots Sarah Connor. No?
Yeah.
Walks up towards her. At this point, no? Kyle Reese knows now who the Terminator is because he's
Yep.
going to mention it later to Sarah Connor.
Yep.
Now, because Kyle Reese does not know what the Terminator looks like, and he had to wait for the Terminator to approach Sarah Connor so he could single him out. No? Kyle Reese pulls out his shotgun and is moving the people left and right to get out of the fucking way. No? The Terminator pulls out his gun, aims at Sarah Connor, but right before he pulls the trigger, Kyle Reese shoots him with the shotgun. Shoots him multiple times, where he flies back on the floor. Everybody panics because you have now shooting going on.
Yeah. And this place
Also,
clears
Sarah
out in
starts
like
screaming.
this
The
place
Terminator
clears
just
out in 2 seconds.
What?
This whole bar clears out in like 2 seconds. There's
Yeah.
nobody left.
However, in the middle of it, the Terminator gets back up, pulls out a machine gun, and just starts blasting at everybody. Nah?
Yeah.
Because it's trying to hit Sarah Connor, obviously, and the soldier, because Kyle Reese is now a threat to itself. So it has to annihilate Kyle Reese so it can get back to its objective. Huh? So it's blasting everybody while trying to hit John Connor. Sees a woman, Sarah Connor, and a woman in front of her, shoots the woman in front of Sarah Connor, so the woman falls onto Sarah Connor, trying to slow her down.
Yeah.
While the Terminator first thinks that it neutralized Kyle Reese and just walks up to Sarah Connor, starts unloading his gun, reloading it. aims at Sarah Connor again, and then Kyle Reese pops out and hits it a few more times with the shotgun. Terminator flies through the window. Kyle Reese bows next to Sarah Connor and says the famous line we all know.
Come with me if you want to live.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Terminator starts to get back up, and Sarah Connor just has what the fuck look on her face. No,
Yeah.
her and Kyle Reese get up and just start running. Now you have a short chase scene where the Terminator is following Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor. You see shortly the view of the Terminator. I think this might be the first one. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
No?
if
In
I
the
remember, I
movie?
saw it last night. This is the first
Yeah.
time you see anything through his eyes.
Exactly. You see it through the
Yeah.
Terminator eyes. However, Kyle Reese stops in front of the car he stole, shoots the gas tank of another car to explode, gets in, and pulls away. The Terminator firstly jumps onto the hood of the car, punches through the glass, but right before he can get Sarah and pull her out, Kyle Reese spins the car over the curve, and the Terminator flies off.
Yeah.
And then Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor take off. No? At this point, you see a cop pulling up. No? The cop stops and reports a hit and run it just saw. Because the cop obviously thinks that this guy just hit the Terminator and is now gone. The Terminator just instantly gets back up and does not waste any time, takes the cop, slams his head on the car, throws him away, and then gets into the cop car and drives off. No?
Great scene too, man. This extra probably had a headache after this, I would say.
Absolutely.
Because this dude's head definitely makes contact with this car door.
If he's even alive.
If he's even alive, yeah.
Because if you take, I mean, you know what force this Terminator has.
Yeah.
He could have instantly, when he just hit him on the head, he could have broken his neck as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or he has a serious gun cut. You don't know, this guy could be dead for all we know, because you can kill somebody by hitting him in the head hard. No?
Yeah. But like I said, this extra definitely has a headache. The actor.
Yeah.
Because I actually spun it back. I was like, dude, his head definitely fucking hits that car.
Yeah.
But good scene.
Yeah.
Very well done. I like that hit.
Yeah, absolutely. However, okay, now we have a few scenes that cut back forward between the Terminator and Kyle Reese and John Connor. First, you have Kyle Reese and Sarah driving through the streets. No?
Yeah.
Sarah first is totally in shock. No, Kyle Reese is trying to get, are you okay? Are you hurt? And blah, blah, blah. No, until Sarah finally, after shock, realizes what situation she's in and starts to freak out again, trying to get out of the car. And Kyle Reese forcefully stops her, and here, calm down or whatever. If Sarah's just like, oh, please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me. No, this is where Kyle Reese starts to put just tell her who he is. He says, I'm not going to hurt you. Don't worry. I'm a soldier. I was sent here to protect you. No, and he pulls down his entire line, his name, his rank, where he belongs to. I mean, this is probably a standard procedure for soldiers, I'm going to assume.
Yeah, I mean, I assume, these guys.
Yeah.
Of course, he also doesn't divulge all of the information at first either. He kind of gives her what she needs to know to calm down, but not the full story. Which was,
but this is also a major lore drop if you have to catch it, because he says, I'm a soldier unit from this and this and this. TechCom, this and this and this. This is all lore things. TechCom is namely the unit that the Human Resistance called themselves.
Okay.
But you would have to watch this multiple times to get it. No?
Yes.
However, then it cuts back to the Terminator that's driving through the streets. The Terminator can hear the police reports. And so that's how it knows where John, Kyle, and Sarah are heading. And not to raise suspicion, the Terminator picks up I think whatever it is, radio or walkie-talkie or whatever.
Yeah, it's a CB police radio.
CB police radio, and just repeats back in the voice of the cop it just killed.
Yeah.
However, then Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor get into a park garage. They ditch the car, and then they get back into a new one. And while Reese is hot wiring the car, Sarah constantly tries to get away from him. She bites him or whatever. No, and he says, "Here, term." Oh no! Before that, while they're still driving, before they hit the park garage, no, Sarah Connor is like, "How could that guy survive these wound shots?
Yeah.
Flying through the window or whatever?" And blah. And he's like, "He's not a guy. He's a machine." No.
Yeah.
And she's like, "What? Like a robot?" He says, "No, a cyborg." He says, "Underneath, that thing is a robot. It is super highly developed, durable. You can barely kill it, but on the outside, it's human flesh. And all the flesh was made from the cyborgs." Now, however,
Yeah. He kind of gives her the quick version of the
the
story
quick
about
version
these things.
at the
Yeah.
first, no?
Yeah.
And she's like, "Okay, but this can't be built." And he's like, "Yeah, not until nobody can build these things." And he says, "No, not until about 40 years." So he's
Which
from
is very interesting, Mike. Which is very interesting because
why?
what is 40 years from this date?
2024.
Exactly. Very, very cool. And this is something that somebody brought up. Not to spend too much time on it, but somebody brought up how accurate that was to what's going on right now. Like how close they were in proximity to the exact time that we created AI. And that right there blows my fucking mind. Like that one line in this film, because exactly 40 years from that point would have been 2024, which is when AI became a thing. That's
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
I know.
I'm not seeing that mentioned enough, but that is awesome.
But by this timeline, AI was created in 1997 unintentionally.
Right.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
yeah. But yeah, I know where you're pointed. Yeah, but it is true how accurate it was.
yeah,
2024.
crazy.
But kind of a discussion you can have. This was when the first Terminator, not the first Terminators. This was when the T600s were created.
Right.
And Kyrie says in about 40 years from now. And the
Right.
T101s we know, nah, from this movie, the Arnold Schwarzenegger cyborg. Those things didn't come up until like a year before the end of the war.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So even from the end of the war, the Terminator we know now was new.
Yeah.
Even to the human resistance. That was a new
Right.
thing to them. No?
Right.
A new concept to them. However, no? This is where then Sarah Connor just tries to get out of the car. Kyle Reese stops her, no. And after she bites him, he says, "Here, cyborgs don't feel pain. I do. Don't do that again."
Yeah.
However, um, Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor manage to find a car, and while he's hot wiring the car, Sarah Connor wants to know a little bit more. Nah? How did everything happen? Why is she targeted? Why is he after me? No?
Yeah.
This is shortly where Kyle Reese explains her a little bit more. He explains like in a few years from now, everything's gonna be gone. There's gonna be a nuclear war, and everything will be destroyed. And Sarah's like, "Oh, did you see this war?" He's like, "No, I grew up in the aftermath."
Yeah.
No, at the time, all of the survivors, nobody really knew who started it, how it came to be. Nobody knew anything. He said, then he turned out, but it was the machines. He said, then he defends it was military defense network computers. He doesn't even mention Skynet. Skynet is not mentioned until the second movie, by the way.
Right. It doesn't have a name in this film. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have a name in this movie. And he says they were given the access to everything. They could control everything. But they wouldn't become sentient and saw all humans as a threat.
Yeah.
Not only the ones from the other side.
Right.
And within a millisecond, they decided the fate of humanity, extermination. Huh?
Yeah.
Then he go on to explain here a little bit more how Skynet almost wiped out humanity until the last remaining humans were locked up into just destruction camps where they were systematically being eradicated.
Yeah.
So Kyrie said until one man came, broke us out, showed us how to destroy these bastards. He turned the tide for humanity, and his name was Connor.
Yeah.
John Connor,
Your son.
your unborn son.
Right.
And that's where he brings that to where that the Terminator is trying to kill her because her son will become the leader of humanity.
Yeah.
What is important is story-wise that John Connor formates the human resistance. Without John Connor, the human resistance would have never existed.
Right.
Yeah, that's also something we can back up later. What the books go into perfectly. No,
Yeah.
um, however, shortly after that, the Terminator spots them. And shoots at them. So then they go drive back off through the car. You have a sure cat mouse scene between the Terminator and Kyle Reese. No,
Which is a great cat and mouse car chase scene
yes,
that I have not seen done as well since this movie.
that is true. Yeah.
And mainly because almost every film now uses green screen and CGI. This
Yeah.
film is an actual filmed, choreographed
Yeah,
car chase through the streets of LA, which is fucking sick that they got away with this.
Exactly.
And I love it. The scene is so much fun to
It is
watch.
absolutely great. You see,
Dude.
like, shooting going back and forth.
Yeah.
The Terminator shooting at them, Kyrie shooting at them. At one point, Kyrie says, take the wheel to Sarah Connor. Hangs out of the window and starts shooting at the Terminator with a shotgun. No?
Yeah.
At one point, Sarah pulls him back in because they're driving towards a wall. No? Kyle Reese turns the wheel and brakes so that they stop, and the Terminator just full force hits the wall with full force. Then a lot of cops start pulling up. Kyle Reese instantly just grabs his shotgun and wants to run after them. This is it just shows how fucking badass this guy is because he's
Dude, he's a fucking monster.
It did be, of course. I mean, it's just like he's been up in so much killer robots. These fucking cops, he probably doesn't even know what a fucking cop is, by the way.
No.
Huh? What was
She
going to show
stops him because she thinks they're going to shoot him, right?
She stops him and she says, "Here, please stop. They'll kill you." Huh? And that's where he realizes, Reese realizes, okay, these are probably the authorities now. She's probably right. No?
Yeah.
And where he snaps out of it again because I just think he's in battle mode.
Oh, yeah,
I would
he's
say. Yeah.
absolutely.
He's absolutely in battle mode, and he still is trying to come to realization that he's no longer in this post-apocalyptic war, and that everybody walking around are humans like him. That's probably what he's still struggling to realize. Okay, after this, it cuts back to the police station.
Hang on. So here's the thing, and I think it's worth bringing up because I've heard this argument a bunch of different times, but I think it's easy to explain away. The Terminator runs into a wall with the vehicle, and their car lands right next to where that is, right? So Kyle Reese wants to get out and go shoot the Terminator and get rid of it. These cops show up, and all of a sudden, the Terminator is nowhere to be found, which means that he fled the scene, right? So if he fled the scene, everybody's like, why would he flee the scene? You're telling me he couldn't take out these cops? Well, the answer is probably not. Because if these guys all have weapons and they all want to fire on him at the same time, there is a chance that he would not make it out of this, even a Terminator. So he looked at the risk. He looked at the risk and decided not to take the risk. And that's my assessment.
Well, yes, that is one outcome. And I would say that could be possible. But also, in the later scene that this damaged him. No?
Yeah, he is damaged,
Not to the point where he's seriously hurt, but it noticed that it was damaged. And that it had to be repaired. That's one thing. So it was not. The Terminator already knew it was not fully functional. Even if it managed to survive this, what it probably would have done because they have no weapons that could kill it.
Right.
The thing was, it would at least take the risk of being captured. And if it's captured, what that would mean is that it would not be able to complete its objective.
Right. Which that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters to this thing. And this thing is a highly advanced cyborg. It can do these risk assessments within seconds. So it knows it's damaged. So first it has to get out and repair itself. Continuing the objective now possesses a risk for one to itself that it can complete its objective. Also, you can say it might even have programmed a part of its program might be to not expose Skynet to humanity.
See, I didn't think about that one.
No,
I didn't think about that one. That's okay. That's good.
it's not specifically said, but I'm going to assume because Skynet knew that time travel possessed a risk to itself. Skynet knew when it sent back the Terminators that could lead to it not being created.
Right.
It knew there was a risk, and that's only a slight risk, but the risk was big enough that Skynet did not use time travel until it had no other option left to it.
Right. Right. So then it would have given this Terminator the ability to make a risk assessment of possibly
Yeah.
exposing itself,
Yeah.
therefore keeping
Considering-
Skynet from being created.
You
That's
know,
probably the
consider-
reason he took off.
Considering the fact that even during the events of Terminator 2, there was another cyborg sent back that you never see in the movie. No? Because this cyborg, the I-950, is literally cleaning up all signs that lead to Skynet. No?
Okay. Yeah.
Simply that Skynet did that. If you read the book Infiltrator, Matt.
Yeah.
No? I'm safely going to assume it programmed another subroutine into the Terminators not to put Skynet's creation at a risk.
Okay.
So those
Makes sense.
for one, I think what you said is definitely a part of it, and that it was destroyed. And the other thing I just mentioned, that
Okay.
would be my assessment of
Yeah.
the situation.
Because this is generally what's used as a way to say this movie has a plot hole. And I remembered that when I watched it this time, and I was like, not really, not really. I don't see a plot hole there at all. So yeah, that even puts more reality check into it. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Okay. However, it cuts back to the police station. No? Now, Sarah Connor is at the police station, and the cops are more or less explaining everything that happened to her. Nah. She's like totally crying because the police chief told her that her roommate and her boyfriend were killed.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, should I not identify him?" He says, "No, that's already been done. There is no doubt."
So she just got told that her roommate and her boyfriend are dead, and she wanted to identify the body.
Yeah.
And they said, no, there's no reason to. It's already been done. And that's where we stop.
Exactly. However, the police chief tells her, "Here, why don't you go sit back on the couch and sleep for a while? It's going to take your mother a few hours to get here." No? And shortly, and then they sit her back down. Then they have Dr. Silberman come in. No? And he says, "Here, Dr. Silberman wants to ask."
I love this guy, dude. He's such
Yeah,
a fucking
me too.
moron. Oh my
He is
God.
an idiot, but however, he
Yeah.
said, and
Thank you, baby.
and then she ask a few questions. Dr. Silberman, she has, "Is Kyle crazy?" And he says, "Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to figure out." And, "Are you a doctor?" He says, "Yeah, I'm a criminal psychologist," and he's halfway asleep because he's yawning all the time. No?
Yeah.
However, Sarah Connor, the two cops explain a few things to Sarah. Bishop and the police chief come up, and "Here, I want to see you this." They show him a bulletproof vest. No? And the chief was like, "Here, this is probably how he survived the gunshots. He was probably wearing a bulletproof vest." Obviously, that's what anybody would a conclusion. Nobody's gonna come up. "Oh, he's a killer robot from the future." No.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna come. It was a bulletproof vest. He says, "But how did he fly through the window?" He says, "He was probably on some drugs and didn't feel the pain." I mean, these are
Probably
all
on PCP.
probably no.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it's ridiculous if you know what's happening, but somebody from an outside perspective, no, that was not there, this would probably be the first thing you come up with.
Of course. I mean, we
Yeah.
try to explain everything away before we believe in the impossible. I think that's very human. And unfortunately,
Yeah,
that's
of course.
something that's
And-
disappearing.
And you're not going to think, "Oh, it's a killer robot from the future."
No. Also, Kyle Reese does not do the best job of selling himself here.
Oh, that comes later. That comes
Yeah,
later.
I know, but I'm
didn't-
just saying, like,
Yeah.
whatever he has to say does not help.
Yeah.
At all.
No. However, because okay, then they put Sarah to sleep so she can relax a little bit.
Yeah.
Then they have Dr. Silverman interrogating Kyle Reese while the two cops are watching. Well, the thing is, from Kyle Reese's perspective, he's a soldier sent back to complete his objective, and he's not really that guy to talk.
Yeah.
And from his perspective, this all makes super sense. They ask him questions, no? And he answers those questions. He has no fucking clue how society works. He
No.
has no clue how people think in this area. He doesn't even fucking know who the authorities are.
Right.
Duh. He doesn't even know why he's being held. He
Right.
doesn't even know if he broke any laws or whatever. Because later on, before he ends the discussion with Dr. Silberman, he says, "Who are the fucking authorities here?" You can
Yeah.
clearly see that he has no clue where he is. However, Dr. Silberman asks him a lot of questions. And this is where a very large part of the lore of Terminator comes from, specifically regarding Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. A lot of it is basic questions where Dr. Silberman is like, "Hey, so this computer thinks it can destroy its enemy by killing its mother before its enemy is born, like a premature abortion." Something like
That's
that.
exactly what he says too. Yeah.
Yeah, it does that. That's exactly what he says. No? And he says, "Why not kill him in the future?" And Kyrix explained this. He says, "We destroyed their network. No? We won the war.
Yeah.
Removing John Connor in the future would have done nothing. Skynet. Oh, no, Skynet is mentioned because this is where Reese mentions Skynet.
Oh, that's
no?
right. They do.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do use the word
Yeah.
Skynet here. Yeah.
He says Skynet had to remove John Connor from ever existing. And then Dr. Silverman, and that's where this time travel stuff comes in. He says, yeah. Says, after we destroyed Skynet, we found the time shipment device or whatever it is. And he
Yeah.
says, but the Terminator already went through. No? And he says, but if this Terminator first he asks him, "Why didn't you bring anything from the future with any ray guns?" And the Reese is like, "Yeah, it's because nothing dead can go through. It has to be a living organism. Somehow, how the bioelectric field of a living organism is created." And this is how does that come? And I love this answer from Kyle Reese because, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't build the fucking machine.
I was laughing. I didn't catch this the first time I
Yeah.
saw the movie, but his entire interview, I was just giggling because he acts like a guy who, one, is frustrated that he has to explain this to people who don't already understand it because
Yeah.
everybody else in the future understands it. So these
Yeah.
people are like, they're dumb to the way the world works. So one, he's frustrated because he has to explain it.
Yeah.
And two, he realizes he's running out of time. So
Yeah.
he's like super frustrated that he has to explain it. Two, he's running out of time. And then also the fact that they don't take him seriously at all. And that's irritating the shit out of him.
Of course. But I just love the line. No, it was,
I didn't fucking
know.
create the thing.
I didn't build the fucking machine. However, then he
Yeah.
tells them that the Terminator went through, and after he went through, they destroyed it. And then he
Yeah.
says, "How are you going to get back?" And he says, "I'm not.
Not getting back.
I can't
Yeah.
get back. Nobody else is coming through. It's only him or me." And this is where it fully escalates because Kyle Reese in front of the camera pretty much tells her here he's not going to stop until he kills you. He's going to rip her lungs out. He's going to do you guys you do not know what you're up against. You cannot stop this guy. Huh?
Mhm.
Shortly after that, before that, it cuts back to the Terminator because the Terminator goes back to a hotel room. It apparently rented, I guess. No?
Yeah.
And
Well,
starts
he
repairing
probably
the-
killed the people in it. I
Well,
would
maybe
assume.
he probably killed the
I don't
people.
think he
However,
rented a room.
no, this is however, this is the room. Well, it could be that it rented a room to not
Raise suspicion.
create suspicion. This thing is an infiltration unit. It's not. It is going to look for a place to use as its headquarters.
Yeah.
And for whatever it uses as its headquarters, not to raise suspicion. Killing somebody would possess me to a risk because somebody might come looking for those people.
Right.
So it
Makes
would
sense.
make sense if it would have done it this way.
Yeah.
No. However, this is a cool scene, by the way. The
I love
Terminator
this scene.
first, you see him turn on the lights and you see his eye destroyed or whatever. He first sits down and starts cutting open its arm. No. This is where you see it removing the flesh from its arm, and then you see the
The
hydraulics in his
rods and
arm working.
everything underneath for his hand. Yeah.
Yeah. You see him pulling a lever and basically fixing his arm. Then it cuts back to the police station. And then they're watching the video of Kyle Reese, where you have a little bit more. That ends with Kyle Reese totally flipping out, them having to detain him. Dr. Silberman turns off the TV and says, "I'm sorry." Duh. And this is where they go through. Sarah's like, "Yeah, so he's crazy." Duh. And Dr. Silberman is like, "He's a complete fucking lunatic." Duh.
Yeah.
Um,
It's debatable
and
of whether or not she believes that, though.
yeah,
I
absolutely
think.
debatable.
Yeah.
I don't think thing is because she saw this guy,
Mhm.
and if you were there, you saw this guy getting shot multiple times with a shotgun, running through fire, punching through the glass windshield of a
Yeah.
car. No,
Driving
there's
headfirst into a wall at probably 65 miles an hour. Yeah.
yeah,
I
there's
would have
no.
believed it. I would have been sold.
There's no way explaining that with
No.
bulletproof vests and
Mm.
drugs. I mean, but however, no. Um, this is shortly where Dr. Silberman is fascinated with Kyle Reese because as the most crazy people, they need some kind of proof. They try to prove this somewhere to them, whatever. But
Yeah.
Kyle Reese is absolutely convinced. He's
Yeah.
absolutely convinced that what he's saying is real because it is. It's
Yeah.
just so. But of course, it's obviously why everybody else thinks he's a complete fucking lunatic, except for the police chief.
Yes. I was going to say that. Yeah.
Because there's a scene that was cut out of the movie. No?
Oh, really? What's the scene?
Now the scene is where Bishop, shortly after the scene with Dr. Silverman and Sarah Connor, Bishop and the police chief leave the room. You see them close the door. No?
Yeah.
Bishop is laughing. No, like, oh god,
Yeah.
this guy, there's no way this is possible. And the police chief is standing there like
Yeah. Like, what if? You got to ask
what
what
if?
if. Yeah.
And he's like, what if? I mean, because even the police chief is like, no, and look at his eyes. You can see that even the police chief himself does not fully believe the PCP and bulletproof of that
No.
stuff. No? So,
Right.
however, no. Then it cuts back to the Terminator repairing his eye, right? The scene where it cuts
So
his eye out with the scalpel.
this scene is fantastic
Yeah.
because this is all practical effects. And you
Mhm.
know how I got a hard on for practical effects, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
may not all completely look real, but
yeah.
I don't think it needs to because this thing is a robot.
Yes.
So technically, as this thing is cutting into itself and removing the eyeball that's been destroyed and all that, its motions are a little bit robotic, but I
Yeah.
think that actually adds to the scene. I think
Yes.
it looks fucking real as shit. If you imagine
does.
that this thing
Yeah.
is a robot with human skin that is covering it, this scene one
Cyborg.
to one is perfect. Huh?
Yeah. It's a cyborg.
Cyborg. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. But obviously, yes. However, great scene by the way, because that's how you can say it cuts its eye out and you can see the robot underneath and everything.
Yeah.
And then it just puts back on then is where it decides to use the sunglasses because its eye
Yes.
is gone, so it has to cover up its eye so nobody sees that it's a robot. Yeah. However, then it just grabs a few guns and now heads towards the police station.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
at this point, you see the Terminator walking up towards the police station.
Great scene.
Great scene, yeah. One of the best scenes in the movie. Walks up to the cop. I'm a friend of Sarah Connor. I heard she was here. Then he's like, oh, yeah. The cop is like, yeah, but she's been interrogating stuff like that. There's a bench weight over there. The Terminator does a risk assessment. You can clearly see him looking through the lines, how durable this thing is. No?
He's like, I can
Yes, there's-
totally drive through this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I can drive through this. Yeah.
Yeah.
He just says, I'll be back, goes out, leaves the building. Then you just see the Terminator driving through. No? Not asking questions anymore, just driving through, getting out, and start blowing at everybody that gets in its way.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. It's
And
just blowing people away right and left, man.
Exactly. I mean, for the Terminator, there's no reason to discuss because they're holding in Sarah Connor. It
Mhm.
tried to get in there with the least amount of resistance possible. That
Yep.
failed. Okay, combat. So it goes in now,
Yep.
guns blazing. No? However, now that it's fully functional, it does not have to worry because it also knows there's no weapons in this time period that can
That
somehow
can hurt.
harm them.
Yeah.
Neither does it care because it doesn't have any human emotions. It doesn't know fear or anything or whatever. This
Right.
situation now to the Terminator is a very low risk at all.
Yeah. Yep.
So, okay, this is the scene where the Terminator is just running through the entire police station, shooting everybody in his path, looking for Sarah. All of the cops are instantly in alarm. They get into their super heavy arsenal because this guy is super heavily armed as well. Cops are shooting at it. It just instantly just shoots all the cops. There's also something that you see that the Terminator, even though it appears that way, is not widely firing at everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is
because
controlled shots. Yeah.
it's all controlled shots because for one, it does not specifically chase anybody. It only shoots at people that are directly in its field or that attacks it. No?
Yep.
The first thing it does is it takes out the electricity.
Yeah.
No, that's the first
Yeah.
thing it does. And you can see it constantly why it's being hit, that reacts to the hits or whatever, then it takes out the light. Once this happens, this is the way where Kyle Reese, the cop that's looking after Kyle Reese, opens up the door and Bishop looks at him, look after him or whatever.
Yep.
Kyle Reese jumps the guy, and then gets the keys to pull off the handcuffs. Sarah Connor instantly hides underneath the desk.
Yep.
Okay. Now, this is where a scene that happens off. The Terminator is going through looking for Sarah Connor, shooting at everybody that's trying in its way or trying its way. Dr. Silverman, this is funny and hilarious, got away from the
Yes.
situation because he left right when Dr. Silverman is leaving, the Terminator enters the police station. Funny
Yes.
scene, by the way. However, yeah. Then you see like first the police chief Winfield shoot at the Terminator. The Terminator instantly turns around and shoots him.
Yeah.
Bishop picks up a gun, shoots at the Terminator. You only see the Terminator turn around and
Bishop's dead. Yeah.
Bishop's dead as well. However, did you see a scene where a shadow figure appears in front of the door? Sarah thinks it's the Terminator, but the door gets hit in. Kyle Reese comes running into the room, screaming Sarah's name.
Yeah.
Sarah comes out of the desk. Kyle shortly checks her, and then they get off. They run out of the police station, get into the next car they find, and start driving off. The Terminator does not get to them in time, shoots at the car, misses, but then Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor get away.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Um,
Dr. Silverman, I want to make a point here. Is there any other fucking guy on the planet that is less of a believer than this guy? Because he leaves right before all this happens, but this stuff does happen. This thing shows up and takes out an entire police station of people, right?
Yeah.
And yet we see him again in Terminator 2 and he still doesn't believe it. This guy bothers the shit out of me. Like, if there's anybody that should have been a believer, it would have been him. But in part 2, he's still like, yeah, you're crazy. Like, what? Dude, come on. But whatever.
Yeah,
I
however,
just, he sucks. I hate Dr. Silverman.
Dr. Sub. Well, he redeems himself in the book.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
okay. If you say so.
Because
I
in the books, by the way, Sarah Connor gets captured again after the events of Terminator 2. I think is in the second book. I'm not sure which book comes up. However, she gets locked up again in a mental institution. At the latest, after the events in Terminator 2, when Silverman sees the T-1000 with his own eyes, that's when he believes it.
Okay.
And there was a point where Sarah Connor was supposed to be locked up in a high security facility. Dr. Silverman was in the transporter, in the car transporting her.
Okay.
Dr. Silverman makes the driver stop the car and knocks him out.
Okay.
Then opens up the door for Sarah Connor, opens up her handcuffs, and says, "Get out of here."
Okay. So he buys it at that. All right.
He
That's
buys
good.
it at that point, and Sarah Connor can only rejoin with John Connor and Dieter Rosbach. By the way,
Dieter Rosbach, yeah.
Dieter Rosbach is the spy that Skynet used his DNA to create the flesh that is
that's on the T8. Yeah. The T800.
for the T-101, for example. So Dr. Silberman is the one that actually allowed, and Sarah, at this point, Sarah Connor has to get back to Dita and John Connor so they can figure out how to get away of the nuclear blast field so
Right.
they can hide from the future war. If Dr. Silberman did not do this, no, Sarah Connor would have not survived the nuclear war.
Okay.
No? And
Okay.
the only thing Dr. Silberman says to Sarah Connor at that point is, "How can I?"
Cool. Okay. Good.
That's what he says to her. Sarah Connor just says, "Hide in a bunker, find weapons, tell people what's going to happen. And if you actually manage to get a group of people that are capable of fighting, find my stuff."
Okay. That's
So,
cool. That's cool.
according to the books in Nordic say, Dr. Silberman also had a part in formating the human resistance.
Okay.
in
That's
the
cool.
end. Huh?
That's cool because this guy is just an idiot in both
Yeah.
of these films. But
Yeah.
whatever.
However, yeah, good. This is where Kyle and Sarah, they eventually stop the car, pull it off the road. Then you have another scene going on between Kyle Reese and Sarah. Because Sarah is just, how can you think that I'm the mother of the future? Because first Sarah asked him why was he sent back? And Kyle Reese said, no, I volunteered for this mission. And she's like, why? And he says, I wanted to meet the legend.
Yeah.
I wanted to meet the legendary Sarah Connor. Because of course in his time Sarah Connor is a huge
Oh yeah, she's deified. Yeah.
she's
absolutely.
the folk she's a folk saint,
A folk
more
legend.
or
Yeah.
less. Yeah, and people worship her more or less.
Yeah.
And she can't believe all this ish because you're acting like stuff I haven't done yet in past tense.
Yeah.
Totally freaks out again. Let's
I
understand.
mean, any way
however,
that she reacts to any of this stuff is completely forgivable.
Yeah.
In my
How
mind.
can you think I'm the mother of the future? I could barely keep my bank account balance and all that.
Yeah.
Then Kyle Reese says, yeah, John left me a message for you. I had to learn it. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Then he says the message that John left for him. What calms her down a little bit. Then he notices that she's cold, so he heads over to her and starts to hug her to give a little body warm. She notices that he's injured, so he's like, "Oh no, it's not a big deal. Don't really care." He's like, "I've been hurt worse, obviously."
Yeah.
However, she patches him up. And then shortly before they go to sleep, she asks him to tell him something about where he comes from. Then Kyle Reese starts telling her about everything.
Yeah.
He says, yeah, we have to hide during the night from the HK killers. No, we have to during the day we have to hide. During the night you can move around, but you still have to be careful because the HK killers have infrared sight. And then he explains a few things. Then the first HK, the first infiltrator units start to pop up. And then the Terminators came, and they were the worst. Then it cuts back now to a scene that this is like two scenes in this movie. One we missed. So that's why I'm going to put them through now, both at the same time.
Right.
And this is where Kyle Reese is now in the battlefield with his squad.
And it's a big flashback. Yeah.
This flashback is a scene you actively can play through in the DLC. This is a part.
No shit. Okay, I'm sold. Okay, I'll get it. I love this scene.
This flashback is in the DLC of Terminator Resistance, an actual part you play through. You are one of the people, because if James Cameron said that that Terminator Resistance is canon, that means there are three other people with Kyle Reese. One of them is Jacob River. If this is canon.
Okay, that's cool.
The guy you're playing in Terminator Resistance.
Okay,
however,
that's cool.
Okay, they go through all of these things, however, and they go into a bunker. Where the human resistance, where the soldiers, where they're all lying out. You see really how dark this future is. The people have nothing They're wearing super worn out clothes. They barely have anything to eat, and the food they have is just slop. They're hunting
And
for
rats.
rats and everything. Kyle Reese then, sits down, tries to get a little bit of sleep, and then he pulls out a picture from Sarah Connor. Now, now this, by the way, is more a dream than an actual flashback, but you can say to a certain degree that because you can say that it's either Kyle Reese's dream or Sarah Connor.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, because she wakes up. Right.
He was
Okay.
telling her so. But however, this dream is based on whatever Kyle Reese told her. And it could also be Kyle Reese's dream. So it is memory. So something that
Right.
might have happened to a certain degree. Even though
Right.
we know that the picture of Sarah Connor doesn't burn because he still has it in the future. However, while he was trying to get to sleep, a few more people come in. Instantly, the dogs start to bark. That's what causes him to raise suspicion. You hear somebody scream Terminator, and then you see a Terminator pull out a full Gatling gun, just blasting everybody. Now, you can see that this Terminator, I'm going to assume, is a T-102 model because it does not look like
It doesn't
Arnold
look like
Schwarzenegger.
Arnold
No?
Schwarzenegger. Yeah.
It is canon that not all Terminators look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. However,
Yeah.
okay, this eventually ends with pretty much everybody being killed. Everything's on fire, and the last thing Kyrie sees is the Terminator staring with these glowing eyes at him, or whatever he sees. Then Sarah Connor wakes up.
Yeah. For
So,
this scene alone, I would consider the movie horror because
yes,
this scene alone is terrifying.
it is. It is
Truly
absolutely
terrifying.
terrifying. Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
that's exactly what it's supposed to be. That it was James
Mhm.
Cameron's intention. He, with these flashbacks, he wanted to show what fucking dark future reality these people had to live
Yeah.
in. You know?
Yeah.
However, the other flashback was another scene of Kyle Reese fighting against AK killers.
Mhm.
Those are these big tanks or whatever. Eventually, after he takes out one of his tank HK killers and one of his colleagues gets shot, no,
Yeah.
he jumps into a car and starts to pull off. No, and at the end he has a car accident, and you see him burning in the car, and then he wakes back up. Now, this is a brilliant scene because these flashbacks are a part of the DLC.
Okay.
So
That's cool.
I can tell you specifically why Kyle Reese doesn't die in this scene. But
Yeah.
if you
Don't ruin
no,
it because I'm gonna go play it
okay,
probably before
exactly,
we do Terminator 2.
yeah, okay. However, okay, then then Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor go back into the city, rent a motel room. No, shortly before that, he pulls out a big hunk of money he got from somewhere, and he says, "Is this enough?" Because this guy has no fucking clue what money is. Huh?
Oh, I love that scene, and I'm glad that they did that because that's funny. He doesn't know what the shit is, so he just crumpled it up. It's just paper to him. He's like, "You pay
Yeah.
with stuff." You know, is this enough?
Yeah, obviously, how should he know he's not from this world? He does not know
Right.
how anything
Right.
works. And it is funny that he has like this money, like, oh, is this enough? Because he sees it nothing else but paper. However,
Yeah.
they rent a room, um, and then they look through the kitchen or whatever, and Sarah's, oh, I need a shower. Then he says, okay, I'm gonna go get supplies. He leaves her a gun there and then just leaves. Yeah. You can
Yeah.
shortly see Reese walking down the street, looking left and right, where just, this is a moment for him where he's just taking a brief air and just kind of,
Yeah, and this is the first time he's able to do this too.
Yeah.
Which is important. It's
Yeah.
the first time he's actually able to take in what civilization was like before the war and everything in the
Yeah.
future. So it's a cool moment. I like, and they filmed it really well too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, after this scene, you see Sarah Connor took a shower and she called her mom. Now,
At
talking
least
to
she
her
took a
mom.
shower.
Huh? Yeah.
At least she took a shower.
I think she took a shower. However, she's talking to her mom, and her mom is panicking. Oh, I have to know where you are, whatever. And Sarah's, oh, I can't tell you, and blah blah blah. Now, eventually, on the phone, Sarah's mom convinces her to tell her what motel she's living at. But right
Yeah.
in this moment, you see her room. You see this destroyed, that destroyed. And while after Sarah tells her mother where the motel is and what its telephone number is. You see the Terminator sitting there on the phone speaking in Sarah's mom's voice,
Yeah.
and he instantly just calls the motel and give me your address. So the Terminator knows now where they are and is on their way. At this time, Kyle Reese returned with supply. Sarah Connor is looking through all of this, like cotton balls, this or whatever, and he's like, "What is good for dinner?" And he says, "It's just plastique."
Yeah.
And she's like, "I learned how to make it as a kid." Did you have the short scene
She
where,
still thinks this is food that he's talking about too. I love
yeah,
that. She's like, "Oh,
yeah,
plastic, that sounds good. What is it?" "Oh, I learned to make this as a kid." It's fucking pipe bombs.
yeah. So basically, this is a scene where Kyle Reese is making pipe bombs together with Sarah Connor. Nah,
Yeah.
and they're having a short discussion. Nah. It cuts between that and the Terminator driving towards the motel. No?
Yeah.
Um, and okay, then after that comes the famous scene everybody knows. Sarah asks Kyle how women are, how girls
Yeah.
in his future are. This is where you know that she's getting on to him because the most girls only ask that if they're interested.
Of course.
No?
He has
Yeah.
no frame or concept of that though. This
Yeah,
poor
no,
guy.
he doesn't because he has not really had any time. It also comes out in this discussion that he says no, there's never been anybody. What makes sense because this guy probably did not have much options, and his
No,
entire life
man.
was just survival. And he was a soldier all of his
Yeah.
life, and all girls he knew were just soldiers as well. And even though there was probably banging going on, obviously, yeah, because children had to be born for humanity not to die out.
Right.
Um, it was probably not on the bucket list for the most people, and neither for
No.
him as
No.
well.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
However, and okay, this is where more or less you can see Sarah. Kyle Reese confesses in the discussion that he has always had a crush on Sarah Connor. That John Connor gave him this picture. He memorized every angle of her face, and he always imagined to himself what she was thinking on that picture, this beautiful woman or whatever. He basically he had a crush on her. No? What he admits at this point. No?
Yeah. Now,
And
it can be argued, and see if you agree with this, because this is, and keep in mind, I haven't read the books or the extended canon or any of that stuff. But I would argue that obviously, John Connor knew that this guy was his dad. He
of
had
course,
to have known, right? Had to have known. So he probably egged this on a little bit, kind of encouraged it, and was like, "Yeah, here's a picture of her." And he probably went on and on about how wonderful his mom was, and probably pushed the idea to this guy so much that he
I mean,
automatically fell in love with her because he knew what
obviously.
had to happen.
I mean, you could make that argument probably.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Even in the books, the extended canon, he actually does that.
Hmm.
No?
Has to. Yeah.
Of course, you see, John Connor knows who Kyle Reese is. That's
Yeah.
why he took Kyle Reese under his head. But it's like, for one, John Connor wanted to meet him. That's
Okay.
why John Connor took an interest. John Connor knew that Kyle Reese was his.
Yeah, of course.
He never had a dad.
Nobody's ever disputed that.
Yeah.
I mean,
And even though it was weird to him, he wanted to have a relationship with his father, but he could never tell
of
him
course.
that he wasn't his father.
Right. Of course.
So it's yeah, because who would believe him? No?
Right.
But however, no, John Connor eventually gives Kyle Reese this picture. No? Kyle Reese never knows why. No? John Connor specifically in the future sends Sarah Connor into hiding. Sarah Connor and Dieter von Rossbach, they survived up until the end of the war.
No shit.
But there
Okay.
were only a very few amount of people that knew of Dieter von Rossbach and that Sarah Connor still lived because John Connor wanted it that way. John Connor literally wanted his mother to be worshipped as a legendary figure, and that's how he set her up. All of
Okay.
the stories of Sarah Connor, specifically John Connor, set up because he was the human leader. He had to be their leader, and he wanted everybody to look up to his mother. He
Right.
wanted his mother to be seen as this big, larger than life hero, and he
Savior of
created
humanity, basically. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
John Connor created that narrative. No, in the future. So yes, but you can say the extended canon. This is all stuff that happened after the time alteration.
Yeah, right.
So you could easily make the argument, did John Connor actually know about it? Could have. This is just like, when was the original timeline? But this is where we get into the chicken and egg paradox. So we could get into that for hours. Better we do it with Terminator 2.
Yeah, I agree.
But
And just
especially,
remind me when we get there, because I think
yeah,
there's a point here that needs to be
yeah,
made
yeah.
that Kyle Reese is absolutely this guy's dad. I think, like you said before, it could be argued, and I won't go into it. It could be argued that John Connor is the kid from her boyfriend that she was dating before. Could be, but I
Yeah.
think there's more instances that point to the fact that Kyle Reese is actually his dad.
Yes, yes. But the
Okay.
thing is, I'm gonna bring that up in a few minutes. However, you have the sex scene between Kyle and Sarah. This is where, according to the most logic, this is where John Connor is fathered.
Yeah, conceived. Yeah,
Conceived, yeah. However, you can make the argument, the point is the chicken and egg paradox does not fall in line with John Connor's situation because it's not really relevant if Kyle Reese is the father of John Connor or Sarah Connor's boyfriend is the father of John Connor. The thing is, no matter, even if Kyle Reese is never sent back, Sarah Connor will conceive a child and will name this child John Connor. That child will grow up to be the leader of humanity.
right.
That's also why it made no sense for Skynet in the future to go after Kyle Reese, even if it knew that Kyle Reese was John Connor's father, because his mother was the one who's relevant.
Right.
Sarah Connor is the one that's going to have a child, not Kyle Reese.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, even if it's not John Connor, then it might be Jane Connor.
Right.
If, for example.
Of course. Yeah.
So
It's
that's
not really
that's why
relevant whose kid he is, right? I
exactly.
agree with you. I don't think it matters.
This is also something in the extended canon of the book, the entire time travel rules are explained by Skynet.
Okay.
Skynet explains them into detail to the I-950.
Okay.
It explains why it does what it does, and that to change time is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
Because it's almost impossible, but it is possible. But if you want to change time, the thing is, time is a force of nature. Nature has a way to balance itself out.
Right.
So if you want to change time, you have to annihilate any slight possibility of it ever happening. So that
Right.
means removing Kyle Reese is not going to do shit.
Right.
Because Sarah Connor is going to have a child, or could have a child. As long as Sarah Connor could have a child that becomes the human leader, nature will make it happen.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
also why the creation of Skynet cannot be prevented. Because if you wanted to prevent the creation of Skynet, you would have to prevent the company that creates Skynet ever from existing. So that means, technically, you would have to go back a very long time.
Right.
So, but that's kind of the point, what makes it extremely difficult. But even Skynet explains to the I-950, if you basically go back in time and change something, you have one chance at it. If that does not work, you can do whatever you want.
Right. Yeah.
Because you tried to change time, nature balanced it out, it's set now. There's nothing you can do.
Right.
So the point is, Skynet only had two possibilities that time travel would have had any effect on it. And that was one, either John Connor had to prevent from being born, or John Connor had to die before he had contact with anyone that in future would have been a part of the human resistance.
Right.
Even if John Connor only told a slight story to somebody, that, let's say, for example, John Connor meets up with some guy and says, "Oh yeah, I have this shit going on. My mother told me, whatever." If that shit actually starts to go down, that person, instead of John Connor, could just become the leader of human resistance.
Exactly.
That's the thing. That's why Skynet only sent back these 2 Terminators, because those were the only 2 possibilities it had to change the future to its benefit.
Right. Right. Makes sense. It
Yeah,
makes sense.
and
That eliminates most of the plot holes that people bring up about this movie and the next one. For me, like if you understand that concept, then there's
yeah,
really not anything you can say. There is a plot hole in Terminator 2, and I know which one that is too, but we'll get to it when we get to Terminator 2.
yeah,
And I don't think it's a big plot hole.
and
I think it's
and
still
that's
pretty good.
and this is where and there's no more brilliant way to have the time travel rules of Terminator explained.
Yeah.
Skynet explains this to the I-950 because the I-950 cyborg cannot you cannot just upload information to them and then instantly process it like
Right.
normal cyborgs because they have a human brain. So
Right.
Skynet has to upload information to them and then explain a little bit to them. And in this process, Skynet explains the entire time travel rules to the I-950 before it sends it back. Skynet extends a little bit on that and tells the I-950 time travel is extremely risky because even if it's successful, it annihilates John Connor and Sarah Connor. That still could lead to the Terminators being discovered or something being
Yeah.
discovered about it. And even if, with that context, humanity still creates Skynet, they could create it in a way that prevents it from becoming sentient.
Yep. It would
What
put
is
a nanny in
equally
place to stop it. Right.
what is equally to Skynet pointless because that would mean it's dead. For that reason, it sends back the I-950 to prevent the other Terminators becoming known to public and to ensure that Skynet is created.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy. But these are the things that I feel like they would have stuffed into both of these movies, Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, because I believe this was actually part of the original canon too. But they couldn't because of the fact that the movie has to remain digestible within 2 hours. You know what I mean? And so that's why we got the books. But if they had found a way to explain the time travel rules, the movies would have made so much more sense. But I think they stand alone just fine. So it doesn't really matter. Still the best time travel sci-fi thing that's ever been done, in
That's
my
true.
opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Almost directly after Kyle and Sarah had their fun time, they heard dogs barking because now the Terminator showed up. Because Sarah Connor thought she was talking to her mom, but it was the Terminator instead, and now he's in front of the door. They both
Shouldn't Kyle
noticed
Reese, should Kyle Reese have not known that the Terminator could do this and maybe warn her not to use the phone?
Yeah, maybe he probably, but he yeah, you can make that argument. He could have known that, but
Whatever.
yeah, it was definitely an oversight from him. He could have easily just ripped the cord out of the wall.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been
Yeah, I
the
would have
easy
just made
way.
it simple and done that. But
Yeah, but
quite
because
honestly,
I
this
guess
dude has had
trusted
no
her.
sleep.
I mean, I guess because you can hear her on the phone, her saying like, "Yeah, I'm not supposed to talk to anybody." So he obviously already told her that
Yeah.
she can't contact anyone.
Forgotten that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he probably already told her that, and he more or less just trusted her.
Okay.
Because from his point of view, from his worldview, nobody would be that naive. Specifically, somebody that, like Sarah Connor, for example, that knows what's going on, and she's seen as a legendary figure in the
Yeah.
future. No, so I would say it is also naive from Kyle's side to assume that, because the majority of humans he's been with for this, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
If
Of
you have
course.
like a situation like this, you know a Terminator is after you. You
Yeah.
don't contact your loved ones because those probably are the ones that are going to be targeted. For
Yeah.
him, I would say you could say to it that is kind of like a little bit of a no-brainer to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very possible to have a brain fart and forget that you're dealing with normal humans who have no idea about what's coming and are not used to
Yeah.
having reflexes for that. So yeah,
Yeah.
that not a plot
But
hole. I just
it's
always
not a
thought
plot.
that was weird.
It's not a plot hole, but yeah, I mean, it is a valid criticism, I would say. I mean,
Yeah.
however, when we get back into the scene, you have a short perspective from the Terminator's view again. How he's scanning everything. Then you see him kick open the door and just blasting everything. But by this time, Kyle Reese and Sarah already managed to get out of the back window, have
Right.
gotten to a car, or have stolen a truck and are trying to get away. On their way, they hit the Terminator and then take off.
Yeah.
Terminator gets back on and starts following them on his motorcycle. Now you have another chase scene, and this scene is you have this chase scene in Terminator 1 and in Terminator 2. Just in Terminator 2, the one is way cooler.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is still really well done though, with the pipe
Yes.
bombs and everything.
Yes, it's
Uh,
cool. Oh, it's cool because I have like Kyle Reese and Sarah are now, driving with the Terminator behind them, and Sarah Connor reminds Kyle that they have the pipe bombs, and he remembers. So then they switch places, and he starts throwing the pipe bombs at the Terminator, trying to get rid of him, but keeps on missing all the time. Eventually, the Terminator shoots Kyle Reese. He lets a pipe bomb drop, and Sarah
Yeah.
gets him back into the car.
Yeah.
The Terminator manages to catch up with Sarah Connor, and she just hits him with the truck against the bridge, what makes him fall off of his motorcycle.
Yeah.
The same thing causes Sarah to have a car accident, and the car flips a few times. While this is happening, the Terminator just barely got up and looked at a light coming towards him, and it was a truck, and he gets fully
Man.
hit by the truck.
Fucking hit by a Mack truck, dude.
Yeah.
These
However,
things are durable as shit.
yeah, the Terminator gets caught underneath the truck, manages to hold himself. The truck stops instantly, and the Terminator then, gets back up. One guy gets out of the truck because there are apparently two guys in the truck that tried to see what happened because they noticed they hit somebody that looked like a person. Terminator takes that one guy out. And at the time, back to the car that Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese were driving, Kyle's unconscious, and Sarah can see the Terminator doing all of this stuff. Then you see the Terminator walk towards the driver cabin. Now, and you can already see that he's limping, so obviously his leg was injured.
Yeah.
Or damaged. Terminator gets into the car, into the driver's seat, looks over at the guy sitting in the car, has half of his face taken off. Okay, you can see all of the robot parts or whatever.
It's really cool, yeah.
Really great scene. Just looks at the guy get out. Okay, and the guy
comes back in Terminator 2, that line, in a really great way.
Yeah. The line comes back in Terminator 2, and it's how should I say it? I just love it how they put that into Terminator 2.
Oh yeah.
And that those were also the things that kind of made it special.
Yeah.
Not because you have Terminator 2 and Terminator 1 is just this time cycle where it makes sense these things kind of repeating themselves at these specific things.
Yeah. It's the whole circle theory thing.
Yeah. What is a shame that they did not do that in further parts, except I would say to a certain degree in Terminator 3. The one thing that you can say positively about Terminator 3 is that Terminator brought the time cycle back on scale. Not because in the end the nuclear holocaust also happens and yada yada yada. It just happens a few years later because it was delayed and blah blah blah. No, so that was kind of the good thing that Terminator 3 did, but there's so much wrong with that movie.
It breaks the lore in so many ways that I can't look at it as canon. Even though it's a fun watch, as a movie, but there's so much lore breaking there and canon breaking that I can't.
Canon breaking, yes. Lore breaking, no.
Well,
or should we get into it?
We can get into it after Terminator 2 because otherwise,
Terminator gets in the truck and starts heading towards the car that Sarah and Kyle are in. Sarah gets out, manages to get Kyle out. Kyle, in the process, regains consciousness, and then they start running. Kyle heavily injured. Of course, they're barely not going to make it away from the truck. Eventually, Kyle pushes Sarah away from it and says, "Run." Now, for her to get away, so the truck will pass by him, and in that process, he uses a pipe bomb and puts it in the Auspuff.
Which was a major oversight by the Terminator because the way he's thinking, Kyle Reese is kind of subdued and unable to do anything, so he just passes right by him. Huge mistake.
Yeah, it was a huge mistake by the Terminator, obviously. However, Sarah Connor keeps on running, and the truck is still after her. But before the Terminator can get to her and hit her with the truck explodes.
Yeah.
Kyle Reese hides in a container, and Sarah gets caught by the what's it called, the blast, but does not get hurt seriously.
Yeah.
And then you see the truck burning. You see the Terminator getting out of the truck and they falling down to the floor
Yeah.
and just burning up.
Cool
Now, then you hear the Terminator song starting very quietly. And then you see Kyle Reese getting out of the container, walking towards the burning truck. So Sarah and Kyle meet, hug each other, kiss, and then fall to the floor. Now, this is the interesting thing that a lot of people don't know. From the studio, I'm not sure which one. This was originally supposed to be the end.
No shit.
This
Okay.
of Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor basically hugging and then going to do whatever. And the end scene was originally supposed to end with Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor in that Jeep with the car.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, them having this discussion.
Okay.
What I'm not sure about, if it was James Cameron's original ending or the studio.
I think it was James Cameron, because I watched an interview with him about the film, and he says that he had written a good ending for it, and this is probably what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And the studio said, no, it needs to be more epic. So the last scene where the Terminator gets like finally crushed, they had to film on a shoestring budget and really quick. So it was probably the studio, not James Cameron.
Because James Cameron originally written a happy ending that Kyle and Sarah Connor going to end, and at the end scene with the gas station, Kyle was sitting next to her, and they were having the discussion about the time travel thing. But that's not what we have, as everybody knows. The Terminator just stands up again out of the rubble. All of the human flesh, blood, and organs, that's all gone because it burned away. And now you have him standing there as the T-800, as the robot.
Yep.
Huh?
Yeah.
Of course, they're both terrified, get up, and start running. Now, this is the most illogical thing these two could have done now, is to go into a building, because this thing is clearly damaged. It can't run. It can only walk at a normal, very slow pace.
Right.
So they could have easily outrun it.
Yeah.
Easily. No?
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
But
I wasn't sure if they had any weapons left though to attack it, because you're not going to be able to go up against this thing with just like car pieces. You know what I mean? You need some type of explosive device.
I mean, you're even not going to be able to take this thing, even at this point, out with normal guns, because this thing is durable to plasma weapons.
Right.
So it is immune to gunshots.
Right.
So the point is, it's just extremely slow, but when it's directly in front of it, it still has all of its strength.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
It's still highly dangerous. It would just be easy to get away from it. But however, Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor managed to open up the door to a building and go in there. In the process, they're being chased by the Terminator. Even though it's still slow, it can still walk pretty fast because it catches up to them. However, they managed to close the door and barricade it, and then the Terminator keeps on, slamming against the door. Of course, they both realize that this isn't going to stop him for long.
Right.
And then I think Sarah or Kyle says, "Okay, we have to keep going." No. Then Kyle stops and starts pushing buttons or whatever. And Sarah's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And he says, "Oh, I'm causing a distraction," because Kyle Reese noticed that he was in some factory where a lot of machines were. He just turned off on all of the machines to distract the Terminator.
Yeah, he figured the sound could drown out the sound of them trying to escape or hide.
Exactly.
Which
What
makes
is
sense.
this?
I mean, anybody would have done that.
Yeah. However, then after that, he passes out again, probably due to
Blood loss. Yeah.
Sarah manages to get him back on his knees, and then they start running.
Mhm.
Terminator breaks through the door. And Kyle and Sarah are still running to the factory, trying to find a way out. Terminator comes into the room and hears all of these different machines or whatever, and it's just way too much noise that the Terminator can actually pin out where they are. However, eventually, while going through all these things, through all of this factory, Sarah accidentally pushes a button that causes, I don't know if it's the hydraulic process, it causes one machine
turn on instantly, and that's what the Terminator notices and pins that out. Okay, that's where they are.
Yeah, it's a hydraulic press, which is
Yeah,
really fucking loud.
exactly.
So he
Yeah,
automatically assumes that's where they are. Yeah.
exactly. However, they come towards the stairs and like, okay, no, we have to turn around. But right after this point, the Terminator is staying next behind them, and they only have a small corridor they can go through.
Yeah.
Okay, then they both start to back up while the Terminator is coming towards them. No, then they're on this, short stairway, and Kyrie screams at Sarah to get out. Run, just run. No,
Yeah.
he shortly grabbed a pipe. That was when they were running through the factory, and just starts slamming the Terminator with it.
Yeah.
No,
It's the only thing you
obviously,
can do.
and it's the only thing he can do. Kyle Reese probably knows it's not going to stop it, but he's just trying to slow him down at this point. However, the Terminator knocks Kyle Reese over and then continues to go after Sarah. Shortly before the Terminator manages to go down the stairs, Kyle pulls out his last pipe bomb and puts it in the Terminator's hip.
Yep.
Boom, big explosion going off. Okay, this knocks all of them out for a few seconds. And when Sarah comes back after, all the confusion has passed, she has a piece of the Terminator sticking in her leg,
Yeah.
pulls it out, screaming in pain, obviously, because it must hurt like hell. And because of this, you can also not walk anymore due to the
Right.
pain. Goes up to Kyle, tries to wake him up, pull him over, and then you can see that the blast killed him.
Yeah, he's dead.
Yep. He's
Yep.
blood over his face, and he's dead and everything, of course. First, she starts crying until again the Terminator gets back up.
Yeah,
and starts
this
smacking her.
motherfucker never stops, dude.
Yeah, I
That's why this is a horror, because it doesn't seem like there's too much you can do to this thing to keep it from coming after you.
no, not
It's
at
just
all.
fucking relentless, you know?
Because as long as the energy part of it stays intact, what is in its chest? Because the blast only took out its downer half.
Yeah.
No, and it's still functional. So the Terminator is now crawling, using its arms to get forward.
Yeah.
And Sarah Connor, because she can also only crawl, is trying to get away from the Terminator now.
Right.
No? You can see the Terminator, pull himself over Kyle Reese's body with all of the damaged parts of him just dragging behind. Sarah Connor gets on this belt and manages to, because of the belt, to be a little bit faster than the Terminator. Crawls into the place where this hydraulic press is, while the Terminator is directly after her. No,
Yeah. This is
she
where
gets
she
out of the
outsmarts
hydraulic
it,
press,
because
closes
she-
the gate, and that's when the Terminator comes out with her arms
yeah,
and is trying to grab.
she outsmarts it. She knew what
Yeah.
she was doing crawling through
Yeah.
that thing too.
Yeah,
So-
probably.
Yeah, she knew what she
Probably.
was doing. She had
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, she obviously. However, then she closed the gates, and the Terminator was grabbing at her, and she was trying to find the lever for this thing because this was probably the thing she pushed. So she knew that this was going to happen.
Right.
Like you said, she outsmarted it. She manages to get the button and says, "Die, motherfucker," or something like that.
She says, "You've been terminated."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You've been terminated, fucker, or something like that.
Yeah.
Pushes the button, and the hydraulic press goes down and destroys the Terminator.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You see, like, epic scene, by the way. Epic.
Yeah.
And I do
It's
think
a
it was
great death.
this was one of the instances where you can say it is a good thing that the studio intervened.
Yeah.
Because this movie would have not, I think, been as impactful as it was if James Cameron's original ending would have happened.
Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
it wouldn't have added that layer of there's no way to stop this thing. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That's the
Yeah.
thing. If it can just burn to death, then you can kill it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
But if burning doesn't stop it, because we know with every other horror movie, usually fire will always work no matter what.
Like, yeah,
The
but
thing is a good example. Like, you
I mean,
can kill
yeah.
anything with fire.
but not the Terminator, because the
Not the
Terminator is a
Terminator.
machine. It's
Right.
a machine. It's a robot.
Mhm.
The fight to you would have to melt the metal, and this is a robot from the future, so it probably has some nanotechnology that prevents that.
Yeah.
And to get this metal to melt, you can only cause it to melt. You're gonna have to have way hotter fire than caused by a fucking truck
Yep.
explosion. It's not gonna melt metal.
The
Yeah.
other thing is the technology behind this thing and the way that it's built. And I think this is This is actually genius because if you see a lot of other cyborg movies, including cyborg movies that came out after this,
Yeah, yeah.
when you get down to the machine portion, there are always exposed wires, right? There's exposed wires on the machine part. This Terminator has no exposed wires. Every wire is internal. So it's encased inside the body. So you would have to burn the body away to get to a wire that would short circuit the thing or stop it. So it's just no stopping this thing. It's basically a tank. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
because that's
It's
what it was
awesome.
built to be.
Yeah.
Okay. However, because the thing is, originally, no, the prior Terminator models had stuff like that.
Yeah.
For example, the T400s and the T500s. Huh? The
Mhm.
T400s, their neck was not really protected well. No, and the human resistance soldiers noticed that if you shoot it at the neck, you would not hit the wires that caused it to short circuit.
Yeah.
That was so with the T500 series, that was corrected by Skynet. Huh? But still, they had like the T500 series had a area in their back neck, no, where you could stick a knife into it, and that would cause it to short circuit for a while, but then it would
Okay.
come back. That was brought into Terminator Salvation. That's
Yeah.
lower point. No?
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then the T600 series was that was the first, like you could say, let's say Terminator tank series where everything was internal and you had to destroy the outside armor of the Terminator to get into the wiring. No?
Yeah.
The T600 was also entirely invulnerable to bullets. No?
Yeah.
This was around the same time where the human resistance stole the plasma technology from Skynet and started to use plasma weapons. The T600 was vulnerable to plasma weapons, so Skynet had to create a Terminator that was durable to plasma weapons, and that was the T800.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's interesting that these guys end up fighting kind of the end all model right here at the beginning. Like
Yeah.
because this thing they even said it in the film, this thing didn't come until much, much, much later. Right.
Yes. This the
And so by the time they had this, they had only one other robot that was better than this one, but there was only one of them. And that's where we get the T1000 that comes back in.
Yes.
T2,
The
right?
thing is,
Yeah.
the T1000 was a prototype. No?
Mhm.
And the T800s were relatively new. Now, they've been around
Yeah.
for a few years. They first, in the lore and in the canon, first started to appear in 2021. That
Yeah.
was when the T800s were created. Huh?
Yeah.
The cyborg version of that, the T101s, they weren't created until very at the end of the war. No,
Yeah.
because before that, the Terminators had rubber skin.
Yeah.
Oh, that
And they were easy to spot. Yeah.
Yep. During the development of the T101s or T102s, whatever you want to call them, no, the only difference is what they look like.
Yeah.
Skynet also started with the development of the I-950s.
Yeah.
No, but that is an entirely different thing in itself. No?
Yeah.
But it was not until like 6 months before the end of the war where the T101s actually started to pop up, what caused a lot of fucking chaos, as
Yeah.
you see in Terminator Resistance.
Right.
Because these Terminators sometimes just walked through the human resistance lines and turned off their defense systems.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
they didn't know that it was a Terminator, for
Right.
example. However, let's get shortly back into the movie. I think then we can get back into a lore discussion after that.
It's hard. It's hard to because there's
Yeah.
so much there you can unpack that's fun.
I know,
get it,
dude. I know, dude, because it's probably something I'm gonna pack as well. Huh?
Yeah.
However, after this, you see ambulance and cops Kyle Reese is being put up into a body bag while Sarah is being put on what's it called? Carry-on.
Yeah, like a
And
gurney. Yeah.
journey and is being driven away. He just looks at him, says his name, and is put into an ambulance, and the doors are closed. Then it
Yeah.
cuts to the next scene. Now, this is something brilliantly. What a lot of people do not notice, and I have to bring this up every single time, because there was a scene that was cut out. Because right after the doors close, the camera usually goes up, and then you see the company sign, Cyberdyne Systems.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, that was cut out. Look it up on.
Why would they cut that?
I don't know, but
That's
look it up.
fucking stupid. They
Look-
shouldn't cut
look-
that.
Look it up at Cutscenes Terminator 1 Cyberdyne Citizens. You will see that.
God
You will see
damn
the
it.
same scene of Sarah Connor being put into the ambulance, driving away, and then the camera going up, and you see the company logo, Cyberdyne Systems.
Yeah, that's brilliant because they're
And
the
then-
ones that discovered the remains of the Terminator that they left in the factory.
Exactly. Shortly
Yeah.
after that, also a cutscene. It cuts back into the factory because with all the cops and ambulance running around, you see a guy coming up, pulling out this Terminator arm and find it with this little chip. And he was like, "Hey, dude, I found this chip in the hydraulic press, and there's something that looks like an arm." And his boss comes up and is like, "What the fuck is that?" He says, "Hide it. Nah,
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
get it to R&D immediately before anybody
Yeah.
sees it."
Yeah. Why did they take that out? That's so brilliant. It's almost like they didn't know that they were going to be able to finance a part 2. But
I don't know. It's maybe you would have to look it up. I do not know why they take it out because it also makes no sense to me. No.
yeah.
Now, however, after that, you see it cut back into the desert, and Sarah Connor is now driving through the desert and stops at a gas station. No, and is recording something for John. No.
Yeah.
Basically, she's probably not preparing if in the case that she might not eventually ever be there for him. So she's
Yeah.
recording just basic messages and saying stuff about Kyle and is the saying like, would you send him back if you knew he was your father? Would that change your decision? Your father hasn't even been born yet, and when you meet him, he's probably going to be a child. It just drives you crazy thinking about it.
Yeah.
And she's also thinking, should I even tell you about him or not? Because that would just kind of drive somebody crazy.
Yeah.
Then she comes to the risk. No, she thinks she's going to tell him because she owes that to Kyle. And she says like that one line, even though we only had one night, we loved each other as if it was a lifetime.
Yeah.
So, okay, then the guy comes out and she says, "Oh, can you give a full tank or whatever?" She gets
Yeah.
back in the car, wants to start recording again until a boy takes a picture of her with the Polaroid camera.
With a
Huh?
Polaroid camera, yeah.
It says something in Spanish. The other guy translates for her, and the boy says, "Oh yeah, please give me $5 for this picture. My dad will beat me, probably
Yeah.
just
Of
for
course,
peanut
give the kid $5.
Yeah. However, she sold him. She bought the picture for off of him for $4. You
Yeah.
see her put it on the seat. This is also something brilliantly done. You see,
Yes.
it's the exact same Polaroid picture that John Connor gives Kyle Reese.
Kyle Reese.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The boy says something and then runs off, and Sarah just asks the guy, the gas station owner, what did he say? He says a storm is coming.
And she says, I
Sarah
know.
just instantly has a serious look on her face, says, "I know," and then
Yeah.
just drives off. And this is one of my favorite scenes in any movie. When I was 7 years old when I saw this
Yeah.
movie, or 8 years old, and this scene was so epic to me from everything else. You see her driving off into the on the highway with the mountains and a storm starting and the Terminator theme.
Yep.
I was like, when I was 8 years old, that was like the most amazing thing I have ever seen in a movie. That was so awesome to me.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's effective because it completely captures the audience and makes you think, oh shit, okay. There's more to this story. We're gonna get to see some crazy shit this next time around.
yeah.
Like it's really good color. Like they did a
It
great
is
fucking job.
brilliantly. It's brilliantly. And I'm going to be honest. There's this saying, that a kind of cliche thing that girls usually tend to cry at Titanic.
Yeah.
Guys usually cry at the end of Terminator 2.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
glad that the studio got involved and changed the ending because I think if Kyle Reese had been driving away from her or with her in this Jeep, it wouldn't have been the same scene because
It would-
now there's more at stake because the only person that knows anything about what's going to happen is her. That's it. So now there's not two of them, so the stakes are higher. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, well, everybody knows everybody probably at this point has seen Terminator 2. The majority of people watching this podcast, so we don't have to be careful about spoilers.
Yeah, of course.
But how do I say with Terminator 2, the stakes, you can say, when it comes to time travel thing or whatever, the worst thing actually in canon that they could have done is exactly what they did in Terminator 2.
Mhm.
Not trying to prevent Skynet from ever being created, because that's the kind of thing the time travel rules are explained by Skynet,
Yeah.
more or less. I mean, I think I've already went into it a little bit,
Yeah.
but what you can extend on that is that when it comes to time travel, you cannot prevent an event from happening. You can only change the outcome of an event. That's the thing.
Right.
Skynet is only trying to change the outcome of an event to its benefit.
Yeah.
But you aren't going to prevent the event from happening. That's what Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor and no, not Kyle Reese, Sarah Connor, Uncle Bob, and
Yeah.
John Connor are trying to do in the second part. Because the point is, just like I said, time is a force of nature. If there was a way for it to balance it out, nature will balance it out and make it happen again.
Yeah.
If you don't want Skynet or a similar AI to be created, you have to annihilate any possibility of AI technology to be created.
Right.
You
Which is
somehow
impossible.
would have had to prevent that from happening. So if you want to prevent Skynet from happening, what you would have to do is go however long Cyberdyne Systems existed as a company, you would have to go, when was that company started? Now, then you would have to go back, who were the people that started that company?
Yeah.
And the first person who had the idea technically to create Cyberdyne Systems, you would have to go a step back from that and prevent that person from being born.
Yep. Yeah.
Because if this one person meets other people and even talks about his ideas for, let's say, creating Cyberdyne Systems, then there is a possibility, because those people also have that idea. That means time, as a force of nature, will make one of those people happen. That is the thing also with John Connor. While John Connor has to be prevented from being born, and if that doesn't work, he has to be killed before he comes in contact with anyone from the human resistance.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Because
But
if even one person that in future, no, is a part of the human resistance comes out about these ideas or whatever, no, or meets John Connor or Sarah Connor, and they tell them about these things, no, time will make those people probably form the human resistance. But you can
Yeah.
also because technically this is something maybe that Skynet was not even aware of, no? Technically, it could be possible that even annihilating John Connor in Terminator 2 would have not prevented the human resistance from being created, because Dr. Silberman knew everything.
Yeah.
Sarah
That's
Connor
right.
told him
That's right.
everything.
That's right. He's kind of the gold card in this too.
Yeah,
And then even in Terminator 2, and I mean we can get to this when we get to the movie, but I would argue there's one person left as well that everyone forgot about, that is highly valuable, that nobody even thought about, that can tell them everything they need to know. And she just disappeared from the story after her scene was done. So
Miles Dyson's wife.
yeah, she knew fucking everything. So she could have explained everything too. You know, the FBI went directly to her the minute all this shit went down, probably, right?
Yeah.
But I think I digress from that. The really interesting thing about this that's a total mind fuck that you have to understand about it is that Skynet doesn't have the full story, right? And neither do the humans. So Skynet knows the rules of time travel, right? They kind of have an idea of who they need to stop. But even they didn't know shit. Cyberdyne Systems, if we send this guy back, are going to be the guys that pick up this Terminator, the parts that are left over, and then create everything. They didn't know that when they sent him back. Unfortunately, everything that happened in this movie may have even sped things up just because of the choices they made.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's possible.
Yeah.
That is
That's the
absolutely
thing. I'm like, it's a game of cat and mouse with time, really, and nobody really has all the rules or all the answers. So
I mean, the only one that was close to it, of course, was Skynet.
Yeah.
No? Skynet, because Skynet is the highest form of intelligence that exists.
right.
And
Skynet was fully aware that it did not have much options, and it could only if Skynet used all of his research wisdom to pinpoint out what points in time it could actually change time or
Yeah.
change the out. And these were only these 2 points.
Mhm.
Skynet also explains to the I-950 that if you ever mess with time and try to change something after your first attempt, you don't have you don't have to try a second time. It won't work. You have one chance, and if at that point of time it does not work, nature has balanced itself out.
Yeah.
And nature somehow is going to create something that will still make it happen.
Yeah.
So the point
Yeah.
is, because basically when you change time, you basically more or less injure the timeline. And just as it is with a wound will heal itself back to the way it was. And if you try to injure it again, doesn't matter. It'll just heal itself back.
Right.
So that's kind of the thing. And so it only had Terminator 1. John Connor's birth had to be prevented,
Yeah.
or he had to die before coming in contact with anybody from the human resistance.
Right.
Those are the only 2 pinpoints where it could have happened. And Skynet itself knew that taking John Connor out as a child might not even work.
Yeah. But they had to try it.
It wasn't a guarantee.
Right.
Taking Sarah Connor out was the guarantee. So Sarah Connor was the original plan, but
Yeah.
Skynet, to be sure, sent another Terminator back as a plan B. No?
Yep.
And also due to the fact this is crazy, because if the Terminator is successful in the 80s, killing Sarah Connor, that means the Terminator sent back in the 90s is not going to have anything to do.
Right. Right.
Yeah?
Exactly. Yeah.
What is a major threat? Because the T-1000 cannot be set to only read information when it's outside of Skynet's network. Skynet can do that as long as the T-800 is within its network. Huh? So even all of this chaos going on with the time travel, that even possesses a risk to Skynet itself.
Yeah. Everything is a risk. Yeah.
Everything is a risk because something could be found out that Skynet gets built somehow, and then that technically humans would create Skynet, but as it is with AI today, put algorithms or certain things into the AI that prevent it from becoming sentient.
Yeah.
What equally would be to Skynet its death, because it would never be sentient. So it sent back the I-950 to clean up all of this mess and ensure that it is created. Now, this is the brilliant thing about what I actually like about the book Infiltrator. No?
Yeah.
Skynet in the future almost managed to take out John Connor.
Okay. Okay.
Almost. No?
All right.
With the I-950. The I-950, named Selena, infiltrates the human resistance and works her way up to John Connor.
Holy shit.
And the
Okay.
I-950s all have a bomb in their chest that they can explode at any time
Right.
if they want to.
They're basically
Now-
a suicide bomber.
Yeah.
Okay.
Suicide bomber, exactly. Now you have like the scene where Selena is meeting John Connor, walks up to him and is shaking his hand.
Holy shit.
And at
dude.
that point, is in her computer head, activating the bomb.
Fuck. Okay.
Right in that moment, all 950s were recalled by Skynet instantly. Skynet pulled out a message. It says all 950s return to core base. Abort all missions.
Okay.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Why?
Why? Was because at that point, that was when Skynet realized that it was going to lose the war.
No shit.
Skynet,
Okay.
Skynet in that moment realized that it is going to lose the war. It has no way of winning. Humanity will defeat it.
Okay.
And it had to send back an I-950
Okay.
for its plan. So it recalled all of them. And the first one that managed to get back, Skynet was going to give that I-950 a briefing and send him back to time after at the same time of the T-1000.
Okay.
That's why.
Holy shit, man. That's crazy. And that's canon, right?
That's canon.
Holy fuck, man. Why don't we get that movie? You know what I mean? Like, that would have been a fucking sick film. It would be better than what we got with Terminator 3, Salvation, Genesis, and whatever the fuck the last one was.
Terminator Dark Fate, yeah.
Oh, God.
It's brilliant. I also don't. I also do not understand why, because the future war trilogy of novels is so brilliantly done, dude. I mean, the thing is, this is the point why I wanted to bring up why destroying Cyberdyne systems at the end of Terminator 2 made everything worse. Because no,
Yeah.
in the future war novels, no, the basic plot points happen, but they happen differently. Not everything happens the same way it does, as said by Kyle Reese. What's obviously because of the time alteration. The time has
Right.
been altered. No, now this is also something. No, what made Skynet absolutely realize that doing time travel a risk to itself is Skynet detected data that it became sentient in 2004.
Okay.
It detected files, but Skynet itself knew that it became sentient in 1997.
Okay.
And Skynet checked the files somehow and knew that these files were authentic.
Okay.
So Skynet knew something that it is going to do when it sends back the Terminator is going to cause some kind of time alteration.
Okay.
That is why specifically that was the confirmation for Skynet that time travel possesses a risk and that it cannot control. So it sends back the I-950 to basically that kind of stuff. That's
Holy
also something
shit, dude.
that's something Skynet explains this all to the I-950 before sending her back in time.
Okay. Holy
Great.
shit, man. That's crazy.
And
So there's all these things that happen in between Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 and within the story that if you're watching the movie universe and you haven't read any of the canon that's in the book or played the video game, that you don't know, that makes the story so much fucking more interesting.
it's absolutely and what's crazy is when I bring that up, for example, the novel trilogy, no? Why destroying Cyberdyne Simpsons made it worse is in the altered timeline, the nuclear holocaust does not kill 3 billion people, it kills 5 billion. Because, for one, after the nuclear holocaust, Skynet decides to, on top of that, use biological virus weapons to annihilate a lot of humans. And after that, it's not entirely sure if that's enough. There was a second Judgment Day. It committed a second nuclear holocaust.
Holy shit. Okay.
Oh, and on top of that, no, that specific destroying Cyberdyne systems, it was created the delay, no,
Yeah.
of the creation of Skynet. What caused Skynet to detect those files of it becoming sent in 2004? What caused Skynet to send back the I-950? Now, here's the thing: when the I-950 ensured that Skynet was created, it did not only ensure that it was created, it gave it an advantage. It uploaded all data from the year 2029 to Skynet's core processor. That means when Skynet became sentient, straight up from the beginning of the war between the humans, it had all blueprints for T-800s,
Jesus
T-101s,
Christ.
T-1000s, highest developed plasma weapons, and whatever on top of that.
Yeah.
In the
It
future
just
war
it gave
novel.
it a head start. That's
Exactly,
crazy.
because in the time alteration, Skynet just instantly starts going out with the T-800s.
Yeah. That's fucking nuts, dude.
What-
Holy
so-
shit.
And all of that because they destroyed Cyberdyne systems in Terminator 2, what made everything worse. And also, this also changed the entire backstory of Kyle Reese, because Kyle Reese told Sarah Connor that he grew up in the ruins of the war. That's not the case. He was born in a human destruction facility and was raised there and lived there his entire life until he was freed by.
Right. Yeah.
That was also changed.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But so here's the thing though, and here's the question I gotta ask. And we'll probably cover it again in Terminator 2 because I think this is a really interesting point. How much does Uncle Bob actually know about everything once the resistance takes him, alters him to be a protector of John Connor? Shouldn't he already know a lot of this shit? Or was that a raid?
No.
Because if he knew any of this stuff that Skynet knew at that time, he wouldn't bother with any of this.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Terminators were foot soldiers. Terminators were programmed with all of the knowledge of the human resistance. A lot of the things I just mentioned, like Skynet taking all of this shit, that is stuff Skynet knew.
Okay.
All of the T-800s eventually had to return to some Skynet base for maintenance or for repair or whatever.
Yeah.
And when that was done, maintenance, Skynet updated their database.
Okay.
So it uploaded all new information to that. So the point is, when Uncle Bob was captured, it's the question, when was his hard drive more or less updated the last time?
Right. So he could have been sitting around for a while,
Exactly. He could have been
not
sitting
being
around for because
updated.
we're going to assume we know in Terminator Resistance how this happened. No,
Right.
it's not like John Connor did this like a few days or a few weeks or shortly before. No, Skynet knew this like a few weeks before. He had his scientists that could reprogram the Terminator. They captured the Terminator and had other scientists reprogramming him before the final battle even started.
Okay. That explains a
So
lot then.
so just replay Terminator Resistance. So it's obviously that the Uncle Bob's hard drive did not have this information.
Okay. Okay. That makes a lot of sense because it feels like there's a lot of things that he would not have done if he had the full story. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the human resistance sent him back with kind of a half book. Like they knew less than Skynet knew, but they knew enough to think that they were doing the right thing by sending him back to protect John Connor.
What they
But
were.
that particular model didn't have the full story that Skynet had.
Yeah.
Therefore, it acted on whatever the humans wanted it to do. That makes sense. That always bothered me because if Skynet has all of this information, then he would have had it as well. But if he wasn't updated, then okay, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Holy fuck, dude! What a mind fuck.
It is. It's totally. It's totally a mindfuck. And I can come up with. There's a lot of small things that are brilliantly done in the Terminator, the Future War novels. What also kind of caused everything to go down because Celine decides also to go after John and Sarah Connor. No,
Right.
because she wants them taken out because she wants Skynet to win. No,
Okay.
so she with the 20th or 21st century technology early starts to build her own T-800s and her own T-01s
No shit. Okay.
and sends them after.
Okay.
That's basically but the funny thing is, but these T-800s and T-101s are not as durable as the Arnold Schwarzenegger
Probably not because she doesn't have all the futurized
No,
metal and stuff.
she doesn't have the necessary technology, and she has to build them with technology from the 20th century that she gets because she gets in a high position at Cyberdyne Systems and
Okay.
manages to get very highly paid. What
Okay.
is brilliantly done is also she manages to create shorter Terminators that are midgets to make them fit in more or whatever. No, she
Okay.
does that. She makes one of them look like a Muslim as well.
Oh
Because
wow. Okay.
because them all looking the same is
It's
weird.
stupid.
Yeah?
Yeah. You're right.
It's
Yeah.
stupid. So that's what she does. And on the way, what brilliantly done, the T-800s in this novel series, their eyes are blue, not red.
Brilliant. Okay. That's a nice change. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
That would
because
help
because
for sure.
because she didn't have the same technology that Skynet did.
Okay. That's wild, dude. See,
Yeah.
I wish that we would get these movies because if they had gone that route and kind of retold parts of the timeline instead of doing what they did in part 3,
Mm.
I mean, it would have been a great film. Holy shit. But they decided to do 3, which,
And
I
and
mean, lots of
and
problems with that film.
you cannot tell me that Hollywood did not know of these books because if you look at the TX, she looks exactly
Yeah.
how Celine, the I-950, looked in Terminator Infiltrator. Exactly.
Yeah. They knew,
Down,
Mike, but
down,
the problem
down
is,
to her nose, her eyes, her
yeah.
facial features, everything. And this book came out before Terminator 3.
Yeah, of course they knew it, but the problem is Hollywood is beholden to studios, and if studios think that people don't have the mental ability to be able to follow something because they don't know the full story, then it's a gamble to make that movie, right? But the truth is, had they made it, people would have gone back and read and understood the story better, and it would have been a successful film. But studios are not willing to take the chance. Alien 3 is a great example of that. And they just ruin films. It sucks because the Terminator itself, whether you're a sci-fi fan or a horror fan, like I said before, is one of the best time travel stories ever written, in my opinion.
It is.
It's
It is.
brilliant. And to take that entire story and all the complexities that go with it to create something like part 3, which even though that came out 10 years after part 2, is
Yeah.
nowhere near close to as good of a movie as Part 2. There's rarely films in general that come as close to being as good as Terminator 2. You know?
Yeah.
So why would you follow that movie up with something that's less? That's what bothers me, you know? And then, of course, every subsequent film that follows that too is just
Yeah,
trash
just
compared to
how I
Terminator
see
2.
like the Terminator 3 and 4 were both okay.
Yeah.
I don't see them as awful as other. They're just a lot of things that are done in these movies that are ridiculous and stupid, and that I dislike. For example, I mean, why the fuck should Skynet create a Terminator that's designed to hunt and kill other Terminators and then send it back in the past before Terminators exist?
Right. It does
Stupid.
not make sense in the timeline at all. It's stupid.
I mean, that is literally just made to make a new. That's the issue, because all of the other people say we have to make a new Terminator model that's somehow cooler than the T-1000,
Right.
and you can't get more unstoppable than the T-1000, because
No.
the T-1000 cannot be killed. There's nothing that can destroy it. So there's no way you are going to create something that tops that. But they have
Yeah.
to create something new. So they somehow come up with this shit. Huh? And then in Terminator 4, what the hell bothered me is, for one, you barely see any Terminators.
Mhm.
And at this point in time, the infiltrator units, what is known as the Terminators, should already exist, even if it was just the T-400s or the T-500s.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't care.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, Terminator 4 absolutely failed. It
Yes.
failed to present this dark post-apocalyptic future that was shown in Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. It failed miserably, because you could
Yeah.
see the human resistance. They were fucking loaded, dude. They had warships, they had guns, they had bombs, they had helicopters. I mean, you saw the human resistance headquarters and was like, God damn it, this is a fucking, I don't know, fortress.
Yeah.
And then you see the other human groups that are around, and they have food, they have water, and all of that. And it's
Yep.
like,
It totally destroyed the vision of the future that we got in Terminator 1
Yeah.
and Terminator 2. And I think that was the coolest part, was you had a ragtag group of people with barely any supplies, barely any food, barely holding it together, fighting this huge war machine. And in Part 4, that's not what it looks like. It looks like a normal war where both sides are kind of evenly balanced. I think the humans probably were even better off than Skynet was in that film.
to a certain
I
degree,
mean,
yeah.
they had just as much shit as they did. The only thing they didn't have was an idea of how all this played out, like Skynet did. But
Yeah,
it wasn't a good movie. It's
It was, and
fucking trash.
the thing came up with, more or less, Terminator 4 brought in the I-950 with Marcus Wright.
It did. Yeah.
What I'm sitting there like, when I first watched that movie, and I was like, I mean, it's not. I found the concept interesting, but it was like, why?
Yeah.
Why did Skynet create this model? Why?
Yeah.
I mean, if it was a prototype or an experiment, I get that. To maybe see if the cybernetic thing works or whatever. But
Yeah.
that was not really explained. Then I read the Future War novels. And then it's like, yeah, that's the fucking I-950.
Yeah. That's what that was. But it didn't make any
Yeah.
sense in the context of how they
No.
used it. It
Yeah.
kind of felt like they just created it and then forgot about it, is what it seemed like. Especially even though they went to all the trouble to go find a guy in the past who they could use to do this with. And then once they created him, they were just like, yeah, go have fun. With the intent on killing John Connor, but that went south really fucking quick. So I don't know. The
I
movie's
don't
garbage.
Is Kyle Reese targeting John Connor and Kyle Reese in the future? I mean, of course, you can come up with some kind of stupid explanation to that, but it's like, this is what the shit bothered me. I mean, John Connor at this point is not even the leader of the human resistance.
No, he's not. He's just there. Yeah.
And Kyle Reese is just some person. And this is what fucking bugs me on top. No? The reason why Skynet sent back had to prevent John Connor from is because the human resistance would have never existed without John Connor. Now, John Connor just being a soldier in the human resistance means that the human resistance is going to exist regardless of John
Right.
Connor. Which gives Skynet absolutely no reason to send any Terminator back in time.
Exactly. Yeah. It's stupid. They didn't think about it and they didn't care.
And then they actually fucking managed
to make it even worse with Terminator Genesis.
Dude, that movie does not exist to me. That movie does not exist. What the things that
Dude,
happen in that film, what they did with John Connor, it no sense whatsoever in the context of these movies. And I have no idea how that got greenlit.
was
If I was
r-
James Cameron, I would have been losing my fucking mind that they did that. Movie doesn't exist. So here's the thing. Yes, those movies are bad. That was a bad idea in Genesis. But the way that casual fans explain this away is, yeah, but there's multiple timelines. They've created multiple timelines by making mistakes. So this very well could have happened. No, it
yeah,
couldn't have. There's no way that that would have happened. There's
no,
no scenario where
what what
Terminator Genesis happened.
yeah. No, the thing is that fucking bothers me. People bring in modern time travel rules to Terminator.
Yeah.
Fucking hate it. I mean, the thing is, I don't necessarily hate the modern time travel rules in stories. I mean, if somehow a story is telling this, but Terminator does not work under that concept. Because if that was the case, Skynet would have absolutely no reason whatsoever to commit any time travel.
Nope. Nope. Once you change the rules, you alter anything that could have possibly happened with part 1 and part 2.
Yeah, there's no reason why Skynet would have done that. That's pointless.
Yep.
Because already at Terminator 1, Terminator 2, Skynet loses the fucking war.
Yeah.
And if changing past does not change anything in present, Skynet would have not gone out and to create another timeline where it might exist somewhere where it might win. That's
No.
multiverse shit. What is
Yeah.
it's stupid. And that is what bothers me with the anime series Terminator Zero.
Never saw it. Never saw it. That bad?
I mean, dude, when I first saw it, I thought it was like there was a competitive AI in Japan, and I thought it was like a Terminator gets sent back to kill that scientist that creates that AI. Okay, interesting concept, interesting.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but that's not really what it actually. There was a competitive AI to Skynet, but it somehow protected humanity, and it also states that for a very long time, ever since the war ended, Skynet and the human resistance have constantly been sending back Terminators and soldiers and whatever.
No, it's just too
That
much. It's too much.
it's just too much.
It also erases the stakes, right? So
Yeah.
the whole stakes that come into play here that make the story so interesting is that Skynet had 2 chances, and that's it. They had 2 chances, and they boloed both of them. That should be the end of it. There is no more time travel going back further. There is no other point in time to send anybody. You had 2 chances, and you fucked them both.
Oh, and by the way, it's stated by Kyle Reese that they destroyed the fucking time machine.
Exactly. So what? Yeah, it like that was all you needed to know. So now you've just created shit out of nowhere that makes no sense in the story or the timeline just to make more money off of movies that didn't need to be, and that bothers me. Terminator could have stopped at part 2 as far as Skynet sending robots back to change anything. That needed to stop at part 2, and then you could have gone back and told the story of what happens in the books that is canon and
Yeah.
made a brilliant movie out of that tied 1 and 2 together brilliantly. And they didn't fucking do it. And I don't understand. I don't get it. But that is a reoccurring theme throughout Hollywood. And you and I know that. We take an
Yeah.
IP and we do everything we can with it. We make a brilliant story, and then we're like, how can we milk this even more? I know, we'll just change the story or add something to it that doesn't matter to tell another story. You know,
Yeah.
it's just the milking of an IP is all it is. And it's a shame that it had to happen to Terminator, because this was probably this story alone. And I've heard it said before. I'm not the only person that says it. I've heard it said before that this story alone is a cinematic masterpiece that is kind of the pinnacle of storytelling for humans, right? And we're talking about a movie where AI takes over everything and human beings are kind of here. So it's a fight for the human spirit. The human spirit created an amazing story and a challenge to everything else that came after it, right? That's what Terminator is. It's that good. And then they just fucking destroyed it. Fuck. Whatever,
Yeah,
dude.
I don't know, dude. It's just like for when it comes to the human aspect, it's just it's brilliantly. I mean, Terminator 2 is way more, I would say, sophisticated
on multiple levels, specifically the ending. If you consider eventually this cyborg that is designed to kill humanity, the humans give it the opportunity to become sentient. And once it fully becomes sentient, it decides to make the decision to sacrifice itself for for humanity's existence.
Yeah, which is
That in
brilliant.
itself, dude, and
Yeah.
even the ending, it's just like what Sarah Connor says. If a Terminator, a machine designed to humans, can learn to value human life, maybe one day humanity can learn that lesson too.
Yeah.
You know, the famous
Poetic. Yeah.
it is extremely poetic. No, and also it also shows that the story was actually not even meant to continue after Terminator 2. Also stated by James Cameron, because James Cameron in editing altered the ending. The original ending of Terminator 2 was Sarah Connor sitting as an old woman at a park watching John Connor play with his kids.
I've seen
And-
that ending too. It was actually filmed, right?
Yeah, it was filmed.
Yeah.
And John Connor eventually became a senator or some high politician or
Yeah.
whatever. No?
Yeah.
And it was
And-
like, so
Yeah.
in the original story, Terminator was not meant to continue after Terminator 2.
Mhm.
Ter-
Yeah.
But James Cameron changed that because he thought there might be pressure to make sequels.
And I mean, he's right.
Yeah.
He's right. Of course you could make sequels, but the thing is, I don't know where we were in the 90s with this. Were we even doing prequels to films? We weren't really doing prequels, right? So the prequel thing hadn't really happened yet. But if you had had that foresight, he could have ended it that way, and then you could have done brilliant prequels that would have worked.
Yeah.
But that's not what we got, and that's sad. But I still hope. I don't know, man. I like this movie so much, and I like this series. And when I say series, I mean 1 and 2, and then all the other subsequent real canon that goes with it. I like
Yeah.
the story enough that I hope that someone comes along and says, hey, there are enough good stories here. We can just tell that one and do a final good film to wrap this up and not leave it where it is now. Because Salvation is just, that film made me want to shoot myself in the face. That was so fucking bad in so many ways.
Yeah.
But whatever. Anyway, I digress. We're already like 3 hours into this episode. So, yeah, Terminator, brilliant film. If you've lived under a rock and haven't seen it, go watch it and then watch Terminator 2. Give us some comments because I know there are a shitload of Terminator fans out there.
Yeah.
Like, there's a bunch of Alien fans, there's a bunch of fans from Freddy Krueger and all that shit, but I think Terminator probably hits a scale that's much more than any of those. So,
Yes.
if there are fans that want to write in and say something that we may have missed or challenge the ideals that we put forward in this, please do it because I want to fucking read them. And I know Mike does too. I mean, we got time to do that shit. So, yeah. Anything else you want to say about Terminator?
No, so far. I mean, you know me, dude. When it comes down
Mm.
to Terminator, but we don't want this episode to be 6 hours long,
Right.
and we're gonna have enough. We're gonna have enough time to with Terminator 2.
Yeah.
There's a
Terminator
lot more.
2. Terminator 2, we may need to split into 2 episodes just because I see that one going super fucking long because there's so much more that happens in that one than this one.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we'll see. You may get a part 1 and part 2 of Terminator 2, but we'll see. Anything else, Mike?
No, that's it.
Okay, cool. So check us out for our next episode. I had the name of the film we were doing, but now I've already forgotten.
I don't remember. I have to check.
Okay.
The list.
In that case, it'll be a complete surprise. Either way, check us out next time. Leave us a comment and hit the bell and all that stuff that Mike already said because it helps us out. And we will see you guys next time. Until then, I'm Matt.
I'm Mike.
See you guys later.
See you.
The blackest eyes, the darkest side. Stay and simply